Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Down low, Kalkbrenner with the jam. Perfect execution as you go along. There's a block shot for Kalkbrenner. His 20th consecutive game with a block shot. And on there is Jemiah Neal to get on the scoreboard. Let's draw the foul. Ashworth off the handoff. All eyes on the big man here. Ashworth looking to slip by. It's Kalkbrenner, it's a three, and it's 41 for the big man. The record is 51, held by Bob Portman in 1967. Kalkbrenner, it's been his night. Unforgettable, 49 for Ryan Kalkbrenner.
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. What is up, DB?
What up?
How you doing this morning?
I'm bummed we can't find the remote controlly.
I know. I can't find the iPad today.
Although it's okay. I mean,
you like a little UFC? You got some...
do, but except it's old.
Well, yeah. I don't think they've got a live event going on 7 a.m. on a Thursday.
See what we're on this morning.
Was that too sarcastic to start the day
that
with?
Was just. I mean, I just was having a simple reply to why this particular UFC didn't float my boat, and I think you felt compelled to be King Snark again. But it's on, though. It's on and cracking. It's Thirst Trap Thursday. We'll get our trap game right.
I thought maybe you just like watching old stuff sometimes.
No, you're not going back to get that.
No.
It's on and popping.
Probably not.
Nope. Shane, how we doing this morning, bud? Besides the fact you had the lousiest smelling vape I've smelled in quite some time.
I was excited that there was UFC on. I mean, I can't see it, but
I can't see.
I can't read. We also have, there's an old game on over here that I'm excited about. My Golden State Warriors beat the Boston Celtics last night.
Yeah. Not so excited about that.
And then DB called me a front runner for some reason.
No, I didn't.
I was so confused. I was like, who are you calling a front runner?
Yeah, why did I say that?
I have no idea.
Are you sure I said that?
Yeah, 100%. I'll show you the text. In our group text with Maddie.
I'm in it.
Yeah.
I think I know what I said. What was I talking about?
I have no idea. That's why I was confused.
I was watching like 54 different things.
We had some good hoops on last night.
D. Harper, Rutgers.
I don't remember what we were talking about.
Oh, because people make a play on my name, front runner.
Oh, gotcha.
And that's why I gave you the upside down emoji. I was like, yeah, I am what I hate.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't you.
I don't know what the upside down smiley face means.
I don't either.
I see people use it sometimes, and I'm just like
100% honest.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know. Me neither. It just felt right.
That's fair. It's very just like instinctual.
Yeah. And isn't it funny? Like,
by the way, I think Ryan Kalkbrenner just scored again.
He's gonna be a monster. He just is. Now, but that's gonna come. We'll get to that in a second. But it's just funny how when people are like blatantly honest, how disarming it is. And I was talking to my players. I had some of the defensive guys standing by me before we subbed in, and we're trying to get a certain a scheme down. And I was like, Q, it's like use your hands, right? You got to push off too. And he looks at me and he's kind of just Warren, our good number 9. And he looks at me and he goes, "Well, it was a turbo. We did it again, and I knew it was coming, so I didn't want to kill him." And I go, "Oh, good point.
Good call. That's fair."
I turned around, I looked at my guys behind me. I said, "See, just be honest.
Just tell me what you're doing.
Shut me up." It's just funny, but it's just like when I was like, I don't even really know what the upside down.
No, I appreciate that.
It just seemed like the right thing to do.
No, I get that sometimes. Like I'll do
maybe
that.
Like Sark, like,
yeah,
I don't know, like the Jordan security guy with like his head to the side, and
that guy's a legend.
He goes, I don't know. He has his Twitter account.
Can I be honest? And
I can't remember what it's called. But
this is not meant to be insulting in any way, which means it probably is going to be.
I mean, you can't help yourself.
When I watched that, and to be fair, this is before I knew him very well.
Jordan or the guy, the security guy? Because
the guy that I'm about to compare the security guy to.
Oh boy,
he kind of reminded me of Shane right off the jump.
Our Shane?
Yeah.
Oh, No, that's fine.
Like,
Shane doesn't even know what we're talking
like
about.
just kind of like just,
That's fine.
you can kind of see just it just
Yeah.
kind of reminded me of Shane a little bit.
Shane, you just
Oh, come on, Shane.
Shane, you just easy going like that?
Easy breezy.
I mean, listen, he's out there just beating Jordan at games. Like, that guy's a little bit of a goat.
Yeah.
That ain't wet.
Hashtag legend.
I don't know if Kalkbrenner qualifies for GOAT status yet, but he's working his way up that list.
Yeah, it's very interesting to watch legitimately play through the post.
Mm-hmm. Because that
Right.
wasn't a bunch of pick and roll stuff. It wasn't a bunch of lob stuff. Like,
And
he
you're
was posting up and scoring.
Yeah, and you weren't getting doubles. So,
No.
I mean, it took a little bit to watch.
Yeah.
So, like, that's new for Creighton.
100%.
And not everybody's going to play them like
I think
like
it's
Rio
encouraging,
Grande.
though.
I mean, it's early,
Mhm.
but there's a lot of hypotheticals like I could see.
I just mean being committed to doing that when you've got a mismatch is encouraging.
So this is the thing.
Mhm.
If that's how other teams play it,
Sure.
right? Because I'm like, well, nobody else is really is getting any really good looks or short corners off the bounce.
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, that's because everybody else is being played straight up,
Mhm.
right? So you're not compromised with a double and then a potential dive,
Yeah.
or a little handoff
And
where you can turn the corner.
Right.
So you're kind of just standing around the perimeter
Right.
while
Call
a
goes to work.
guy's going to work in the post. So I don't know if everybody's going to
I don't think
play
they will,
like that.
but I like that when somebody plays them like that, they're like, yeah, we'll just feed him all day. It's fine.
Yeah. So what you did find out, if people are willing to let Kalk just go for 30,
He will beat you.
well, you're not going to get a lot of open threes.
No. Not,
because
although I will put one caveat on that. I think we don't know with Pop Isaacs in there.
Yeah. Will he be the dribble drive
Yes.
penetrate guy? Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Because people are like, I don't know. I mean, Jason Green's first start. I thought I was gonna. Like the way that Rio Grande played that thing,
Mhm.
I don't know. Like if that's a game to be very stretch for-y because
No. They just weren't going to let
Yeah.
Creighton beat him with threes.
Yeah.
That was their game plan.
Yeah. So I'm like,
And they didn't think Kalkbrenner could go for 50.
you gotta this is in conjunction to how they're being defended.
100%.
Let's not just make sweeping generalizations on guys' performances.
100%.
Not everybody's gonna play them like that.
Well, and what did I reply to you? Because you asked me, hey, I don't know how many of these guys are going to be able to get a piece of the paint,
I always believe that. I'm always gonna believe that until somebody shows me.
which I
different, though.
totally understand.
They're
Well,
just not built for that.
and what was my response? Yeah, outside of Pop, I think it's going to take a closeout or rotation for everybody else.
Yeah, right. Where you compromise, you're like, oh
Yeah.
shoot, we need help.
Which
Or-
is like, okay, if they go and double Kalkbrenner or Kalkbrenner gets doubled, kicks out, then you swing it, right? There's a sequence of things. Like, I think Jemiah Neal could do that off of a closeout or off of rotation.
He interests me greatly because I don't know if he's
way better than he looked at Arizona State.
I don't know if he's super shifty. He's just not super shifty with the handle. He's
No.
more of a push it out in front angle.
Yeah. He's
kinda
like an
hook.
attack a crease guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like I don't know
Which
if
is
he's-
useful.
I don't know if he's that guy
Right.
either. I'm just it's going to be interesting. But I mean, listen, if we're going to make all sorts of rash
Mhm.
hot takes, I don't know if the Big East is going to be very good. So,
yeah, I mean, we saw some we saw some dog babies out there.
But it's kind of how college basketball started.
I mean, even Monday, we saw what Providence struggle really badly.
And
we saw,
if you want to get out of conference,
Mhm.
right? I mean, UCF beat A&M.
Yeah.
And we saw some.
I mean, I know I brought it up Tuesday, but like Carolina took it a long time with
Yep.
Elon. Like there was a lot of good teams that kind of got stretched. Indiana we saw yesterday. I don't know if they're a good team or not, but they're a talented team.
Well, the reason they came up in our group chat is because of what you said when I was jumping off the stage.
Yeah,
Yesterday. I was talking about. I said something about conferences.
Yeah,
and
that's at the Big Ten.
Yeah, and
I go
you
good upper middle class.
And I go, yeah. I said Indiana's 17, and you're like, I don't even know if Indiana's ain't good. I don't think Woodson's very good. So I mean, like, we'll see.
Yeah, it's a good. I think it's a pretty good roster, but
it's stuck in my head.
Yeah, I think Woodson's terrible.
And then it was 28-28 because I had it on the multi-view, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if Indiana's very good.
I'll take Illinois over Indiana today.
I that's what I said. Yes, I think people are really undervalued. If you want good a good stock option, take a look at the Illini.
100%. I think that's a
flying grossly, especially after I looked at the top 20. They're flying grossly under the radar.
Yeah, like I said, I take them over Indiana just straight up any day of the week. I think the roster is better than people realize. And even though I'm not a huge Underwood guy, I'm definitely taking Underwood.
You're not a Underwood guy at all.
No, I'm not, but I'm definitely taking him over Woodson.
Yeah.
Like, no questions asked. I don't think Woodson can coach himself out of a wet paper bag. Like,
Ooh.
I do not. I don't ever think he's been any good.
He's no J.J. Redick.
Well, I know you love J.J. Redick. Big J.J. Redick, big LeBron guy, big AD guy.
I wonder if the Lakers will ever win on the road again.
Probably not.
No, I'm just playing.
I mean, the Warriors are 5-0 on the road.
No. The Lakers are 1-4. One upper.
It's bizarro world.
And weird. Redick is like fawning over LeBron, but he's mad at everybody else. I'm like, here we go.
Well, he's already got the job of LeBron's coach down pat then. That's how it goes, right? You fawn over
you guys,
LeBron.
that day is not today.
It's everybody else's fault.
See, I'm consistent. I don't care if it's Nebraska quarterbacks. I don't care if it's Carolina point guards. I don't care if it's Shohei. I don't like the one guy gets everything. I'll never be about that life.
Not about that life?
No. It's a team deal.
I
get it. Like, you have to coach your stars a smidge different, but you better not compromise your culture to do so.
Yeah.
And if you have, I'm going to say this one more time. I'm going to move on. If you have to compromise your culture to coach your best player, you better make sure he's not your best player.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that's.
Yeah.
Put that on a T-shirt.
Print the shirts.
Although
I stay with Kalkbrenner here for a second. I do have to. I was having this conversation after the Purdue exhibition, so I got to put some of my friends on blast here a little bit.
Oh boy.
We were having this conversation about the Purdue exhibition, and one of them was like, "Yeah, I don't know how good Ryan Kalkbrenner is. I think he's just tall." And I go, "Oh, so you don't know basketball?" I think that was my exact response. Like, "Oh, you just don't know ball." That's
yeah, because we got into this. I said, "That's the guy that made 20-some straight field goals."
Yeah, I was like, you just don't know ball. And they're like, "Oh, so just because blah," I said, I'm like, "No, like, it's fine. Like, we can disagree on stuff. You know stuff about sports that I don't, and that's fine. Like, they're really big into volleyball." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm defaulting to you on volleyball. I need you to trust me when I tell you." And somebody in my mentions yesterday was like, he was being guarded by guys 6 inches shorter than he was. I was like, first of all, guys were like 6'9", so it's like 4 inches, whatever.
And he's 7'1". It's going to happen a lot.
I was like, also, he's 7'1". And how many times have you seen a 7-foot guy, 7'1" guy get guarded by smaller dudes and not be able to do anything at all?
Yeah.
That happens all the time. There's a reason all these stats are being put out about how historic what he did was, because guess what? It doesn't happen very often, no matter who's guarding you. Like, this is a dude that is 5th all-time in field goal percentage in college basketball history. Not Creighton history. Not Big East history, the history of college basketball. And the argument that was made to me was like, he's not dominant enough. Like, he misses bunnies sometimes. Like, what are you watching? He's not going to make all of them. You know that, right? I feel like it's when people are talking about Nebraska's defense to me, it's like, they're not going to get a stop every time, right? Like, other teams are going to convert third downs.
Yeah.
Other teams are going to score occasionally. Like, it reminds me like I'm watching the Northern Iowa game. I'm like, what are you people watching? Their long run in that game, I still remember, it was 11 yards. People thought they were getting gashed defensively.
The funny thing about this is I'm chuckling in my head because
what's that?
When we talked to Maddie, it was Maddie, DeMarinis, we were talking about Kalkbrenner, and I go, I'm just saying, like, this guy's going to be a monster.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said, no, I know I said monster. I don't know if I said unstoppable, but I'm like,
one of you did. I don't remember which one.
I'm like, this is going to be a flat-out monster. And I'm not going to put anybody on blast. But we were getting I got the comparison to the potential for Mia.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, not even in the same stratosphere.
No.
Although they're both 7'1". I mean, number one, and I left it at this. I said, let's just start with the fact physically they look significantly different because Kalkbrenner is like 48 and Mia's just a pup.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
he's grown.
Kalk's played a lot of basketball against a lot of big strong, physical guys.
And he's been in a college weight and nutrition program for a long time.
And he's got one of the best in the country that he's working with.
Jeremy's incredible.
So let's just start there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, never mind. But got the Creighton and Nebraska thing. I'm like, look, man, I just like sports. I don't really care who you play for. I mean, I fawn over Caleb Johnson, and I'm definitely not an Iowa guy, but I just like the dude's really, really, really good.
Yeah.
So again, don't be surprised if he's in the GNT discussion. I'm gonna say that. And
Caleb?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're 6 in one, and a half dozen in the other.
I'm not gonna argue with that.
I mean, anyway. So like with Kalk, I just don't know if people are gonna play him like that.
Probably not.
But just imagine if you get that version of ISO ball, and it's not with a ball handler.
Mm-hmm.
You're watching him play through the post. It might be a little different fun challenge, and maybe he's already good at it because Mac wasn't always space and pace where you get guys that have to move all without the ball, without watching. Because that's the hardest part when you play through the post.
100%.
Is
especially if you're not used to it.
Guys can watch a little bit.
Last time you probably were talking about that happening is like Doug's sophomore year, where he was a much more post-based scorer. Like Doug's sophomore, maybe a little bit into the junior year, where you actually had guys moving a ton off of his touches in the post. So he's got it in there. Coach Mack does. I don't know if this particular roster is necessarily built for it.
Who was the first one? Because Maddie said it to me. Who was the first one that said that Pop wasn't playing? Because that wasn't very long before the game started.
No, I think I saw our very own Anna Bellinghausen tweet out that he was in street clothes in pregame. That's the first I saw it. Was her tweet.
Shout out ABZ.
I don't know if that was officially reported somewhere before that. I don't think it was. That was kind of kept under wraps, I think. And they still haven't officially said why. They just hope he's able to play on Sunday. So obviously not a long-term deal there, which is encouraging. But yeah, that was until, it was after 7 o'clock, I think, or somewhere around 7 o'clock when they came out for warm-ups and were telling people that Pop wasn't playing.
Yeah.
So I don't know when they knew. I'm guessing enough time to prepare, but that's a offense that's going to look pretty dramatically different when Pop's out there.
Yeah.
It just is not going to be the same thing. But it's also going to look dramatically different when people don't just say, hey, we're going to let Kalkbrenner eat, because I don't think everybody else is going to do that.
There's something about that where I think blueprint may be too strong of a word, but I may do that until somebody else proves. All right, so who's going to be the third guy?
Third scorer? Probably Ashworth.
Okay. Well, that's what I think. I think a lot of teams will take that.
As the third scorer? Yeah, I don't know who else it would even be, honestly.
Yeah, so what I was going to say is until something else emerges, I may just – I don't know if I'd let a guy go for 49, but –
no, but you're willing
I would
to concede certain things.
I would be willing to let him go get his until –
because I don't think Ashworth is going to get officiated the way he was last night.
And I just remember there are these times where I just remember him scrambling, not being able to go by guys, and guards would just suffocate him.
Yeah.
So I don't know
against better competition.
Yeah,
if
like
that's sustainable.
So
I don't think so.
Somebody will.
Again,
whether
he's
it's Nail or.
I think he's an attack closeouts guy, Ashworth, not a just beat a guy straight up.
Yeah.
But I will say,
I will. This is a different kind of team. I'm actually curious because he's such a good coach. It's like, well, this will be fun.
Yeah.
I like to see people figure it out, and he's got a ton of options with lineups.
Yeah.
I'm like,
and we've seen him do it a few different ways.
Yeah, I like to see people work like that.
And the giant wild card in this whole thing is Fedor Zugic.
Yeah.
If he becomes eligible, he not only probably becomes your best scorer, it's either him or Kalkbrenner, and it's probably pretty close, so I'm being honest. Different types of guys, obviously.
I wish – go ahead.
But then all of a sudden you've got Pop Isaacs as your third scorer and Stephen Ashworth as your fourth scorer. Not a lot of teams are going to be real excited to guard that.
I really, really wish, and I hope and I pray that I make it someday, but I'm still just a bell on the hill.
I'm unfamiliar with that one.
This is the Schoolhouse Rock deal. What I hope is that the NCAA doesn't drag their feet so somebody has to waste a red shirt.
Yeah.
I think I intimated that
You
in
did.
your group. Like, I don't want
You
somebody.
said somebody's going to waste 7 games.
Yeah. Like, if you wait 10 games to say something and, Max got to get somebody else ready, like, I don't know about that. So just figure it out so we don't.
I wonder if.
So we don't compromise a year for a wing.
I wonder if that's why they're.
Because he's already said Larry's going to redshirt.
Yeah, I wonder if that's why they're kind of preemptively redshirting Larry. Because they probably could. I mean, we saw a walk-on come in pretty early last night at the 2-guard spot, and in Shane Thomas, and he looked okay. He looked all right.
Davis is getting minutes.
Davis is getting minutes as a true freshman in kind of both of the guard spots. He played some with Ashworth, some without. But
I'm going to ask JP, do you think you could get away with staggering the backcourt and not have to play Davis?
I don't know.
Or do you need another?
I kind of think they want to play Davis. I think they like him. I mean, I was pretty impressed with his minutes yesterday. I thought he was pretty good. Now, again, competition, we'll see what that goes up. But, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that Rio Grande is incredible, but like that's a team that's going to give some teams problems. They play a super interesting style. I don't know what that ends up looking like as far as a record or metrics or anything like that. But
so we're not as frowny faced that it took Nebraska some time to pull away.
No, I mean,
yeah, it's good.
That was
I was over here in that comparison.
That was
not to be all pro Nebraska.
What do we like? We like to be fair around here.
I'm kind of pro Nebraska. Oh man, my guys are on their way to school.
Who's on the way to school?
Oh man, I miss those dudes.
You doing right over there?
Huh?
You just walking down memory lane?
Yes. Yes.
What just happened there?
No, my guy sent me a picture of my guys.
There you go.
You're going to the wrong school. That's all right.
I thought you were West Side. I thought you were out there recruiting everybody. You got anybody goes to other schools?
I wish I would have. I wish I would have done that a little harder. Nah, that's family. They can do what they want.
I thought you're not giving out scholarships out there or anything.
Do we have those? How'd that voucher thing go in with the ballot, Shay?
That got repealed.
Did it?
Yeah.
No more millions going to public schools?
Going to private schools.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, that was I think it was pretty close to 60% was the repeal on that one. 57, 58, somewhere in there.
Shane, I know one thing.
Not as high as medical marijuana.
Yeah. Fudge.
I think passed with flying colors.
Smoke up, Johnny. Shane, do you have the iPad over there? I don't want to watch UFC reruns.
You asked me the same question last year,
hey,
Eric.
Chill, Giannis.
Thought you were a big UFC guy.
Hey, by the way, is that guy still employed?
Giannis?
Doc. Does he still got a job?
As far as I know.
Oh, I got one more for you. Boy, we're just going hodgepodge.
Yeah.
Selfish.
You're like, oh, man, I want to get into hockey this year. I want to get into hockey. I said, hey,
yeah,
I got a team for you.
Yeah.
They're exciting. And they're on TV tonight. Do you remember who that team was?
I don't.
Shane, do you remember who that team was?
One Winnipeg.
Yes. It was the Winnipeg Jets.
The JETS Jets.
Yes.
Jets.
Very good memory, Shane. Would you like to know what the Winnipeg Jets are currently?
What are they?
They play 13 games. What do you think the Winnipeg Jets are?
9-4.
No, they're 12-1.
Ooh. My Winnipeg Jets?
Yeah. Shane, how'd you remember that? You don't even listen. This dude hears about 1 out of every 17 words we say.
As soon as you say something about hockey, he tuned in.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Exactly.
Coming
Dean
up,
Blandino over there.
We will set up the show and let you know. We got a lot of NFL and football coming up here. That's DBM Ravi Lulla. More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Ehlers rotated back in behind the net. There's Nemestikov to try to help out the former Lightning. Feed back with the line. Morrissey side door, the far side. They score! Vladislav Nemestikov took the pass of Morrissey and slid it in and just past Johansson. And what a peg is on the board. It's 2-1 Tampa.
Welcome back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DBM Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Coming up on the show today at 8 o'clock, we've got Cynthia Freeland from the NFL Network. Talk some
The GOAT.
Professional football. We finally might get to the trade deadline that passed a couple days ago.
Wait, did you say finally might?
Yeah, maybe. We might finally.
We for sure probably. I do that. That's people call me on that all the time.
At 8:45, we've got our guy Brian Edwards, our Vegas insider.
He used the cream cheese to butter the bagel.
I gotta ask him another time this week. Billy Napier.
Yeah, he's in trouble.
He put up a pretty good fight, but he's not gonna get enough wins.
Yeah, and knock it off now because you're just trying to see the good. The rare occasion that you want to see the good in somebody, it happens to be some rando in Florida named Billy Napier.
I don't like it.
I mostly just want to bother Brian Edwards.
Well, you Floridians want to be miserable together because your Seminoles suck.
They're very bad.
I know.
They're gonna get beat by 100 this week.
By the way, I like your Seminole colors today.
Oh, it was Papio colors for my guy Tim Williams.
You and Omaha Ryan. who I'll be spending an inordinate amount of time with tonight.
Yeah?
Yeah, we have a dinner.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he said he would drive, so I got no problem.
Look at you guys.
Knock it off. Knock it off.
No, I probably spent more time with him this year than you have.
It's but I let him come over when he wants, so it's okay. No, so yeah, we have I don't know, he's got some creative thing he put together.
Nice.
So he'll drive, and then Caleb will drive back because he's actually the guest speaker.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know any idea what it is. There's a couple guys sitting around at the table getting creative about some ideas, I guess. I
mean, hey, you get dinner out of it. That's the.
Yeah, I wonder. So that's not one of those. My mom, who you saw yesterday, that would be one of those deals where she would be mad if I asked.
Why?
Because I'm a guest.
Okay, but I just like knowing what's going on, you know.
No, she's not having it. I could be going to her house for dinner. Don't ask what she's making.
She is much more like polite than I am. More
isn't she cool?
Cordial, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Yeah. No, she's super cool.
Yeah.
No,
so
I love her,
don't ask like what she's having for dinner.
Maybe I just have bad manners. Cause I'm definitely me being.
You know what she would say in her you've heard her voice. Yeah. She would say, "Are you coming or not?" That would be her answer. Guaranteed. Don't ask again.
To be fair, I generally
you ask what people are having when you're a guest.
Well, it depends on what the situation. Like if I'm going to somebody's house, no.
Okay. Well, that's in essence what I'm doing.
Okay, so I thought you were like going out somewhere.
I don't understand the setup.
Okay.
It's he said it.
So I would have asked.
It's Ryan, so it's fancy.
I would have.
But he said something condo. Okay. So I don't know if it's like. I don't know,
that's where I would have asked.
Taking Pisons or what? I wasn't gonna ask.
That's where I would have asked questions. Was like, hey, where are we going? Yeah. I may not be asking what we're serving, but I need details here.
I'm pot committed because he asked me months ago.
Yeah.
So I wasn't gonna like back out.
I'm not saying I'd back out, but like I need some information to kind of know what's happening.
It's whatever.
That's who I am as a person, though.
Just don't be getting me home at like 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
It doesn't start till 6:30, and it's in Lincoln.
And
6:45. They're gonna be a little late for me because I won't leave West Side until after team dinner.
You gotta, you got stuff to watch.
Well, that's what. So I need help. Thank you for giving me this.
I'll see what I can do.
Why can I get multi-view on my phone when I'm
not on
YouTube,
your computer?
But not on my computer.
I don't know. I have the same issue. It's not a you thing. I think it's a platform thing. I wonder if I think it's an app versus website issue. Because on your computer, you're on the website, right?
I don't know.
You like put it in the browser.
How long did it take you to get YouTube TV on my computer?
A while. You had an issue. I don't know what the deal was.
Okay, so that wasn't a me thing.
No, that wasn't.
I was like, here, can you do this?
Yeah, I think that was a
accounts
deal. Like it was your account versus your wife's account, or I don't know. But yeah, I don't know what it is. But I think it's like when you're on your computer, you type it into the browser. When you're on your phone or on the TV, you just click the app.
You can put apps on your laptop?
You can. Right? I don't think they have a laptop app for YouTube TV. At least they didn't used to.
Oh, okay.
So I can check again on mine, and then I'll let you know. But when I started watching games on my computer, they didn't have the app for the computer.
Yeah. Okay.
It wasn't compatible or something. I don't know. Sometimes these companies don't like to play nice with one another. So like YouTube TV is a Google company, and we have Apple computers. So sometimes Apple and Google don't like to play nice.
Yeah, Team Android.
On your phone, you got an Apple computer.
This was my mom got me this.
Well, your mom got you an Apple computer. In her infinite judgment, she's probably got an iPhone too.
She does.
Yeah, because she's smart.
I'm okay.
Wow, you're off to a roaring start this morning. It's great.
At 9 o'clock, we got Michael Bruns from Husker 24/7, and then we'll talk to our guy Jacob Padilla from Hurrdat Sports.
Shane,
at
did you give Jay Pizzle the last time slot so he'd be up, or
I told him to do 9:45 for JP because I figured
who died and made you. What did the kids say? Who died and made you? But what did we say when we were little?
Who died and made you king?
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
But
is that what it was?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who died and made you king?
I mean, listen, I was just out there. I'm just out here doing it.
I wanted a bigger slot because we didn't
have a bigger slot.
I understand that now,
Cynthia,
but we could have back to back him. Yeah, and we could have put him in the bet. We could have put him in the bet on it segment, and I could bet on the fact that he would bring up the Suns.
Well, I mean, we can if you want to ask him if he wants to go
okay.
9:30.
It's okay.
Fine.
I just want to be efficient because I want to talk hoops, and I want to talk volleyball.
We can get to them both. We'll get to everything.
Because I have some things about what we're seeing. And the last time
on hoops or volleyball or both?
Volleyball.
Okay.
And the last time he and I he knows I like volleyball. We got into like the nitty gritty. And I said something about, I hope for history's sake, it's a Nebraska Penn State thing. Because when I was in school in
Penn
the
State
90s,
was like the wagon.
Penn State was the monster, right? And that was the one that Pettit had to overcome. And in typical Jacob fashion, he looked at me just like you're doing right now. And he goes, Penn State. Huh. You realize I've only been covering volleyball for 10 years. I didn't know whether I wanted to choke him or admire his candor.
He does that a lot.
I was like,
that's a very JP thing to do.
In my head,
yeah,
I was like, I think I'm going to kill you. But I calmly said, that's right. Good point. They haven't really been good since you've been covering volleyball.
It's fair. It's fair.
Yeah. So I wonder, I don't know how good Penn State is, but I think they're pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can ask him. We can talk to him a little about it.
And I would be hearkening back to I one time we were walking to class on campus and I looked at Allison Weston and I go, hey, do you want to come over and do the verticals with me? I'm curious to see how high you jump. And she's like, little dude, like, go on somewhere. Like she was like she was the, for me.
Yeah.
She was like the GOAT.
I'm surprised she wasn't just like, I jump higher than you.
Because, well, I mean, she was right down the street.
Yeah.
I mean, even though she was a Monarch and I was way on, Maple Village, but it was like, oh my gosh, this lady is really explosive.
I mean, if you took 90th, you could probably get there on one street. It's a long street, but you could get there.
Man, that'd take forever. But I just remember things like that. So like I want to talk volleyball.
That's what Matty DeMarinis used to always tell me. He'd be like, "Oh no, we live right down the street from each other." He lives like down by Chalco, like he's like south of Harrison, and I live north of Dodge. And I was like, "Yeah, technically it is down the street. Like I can take a street and get there, but that's not down the street. It's like a 25-minute drive."
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Sounds about right.
That's like my buddy. He's driving these guys 25 minutes to school. It doesn't have to be like that, big fella.
Look at you, just using your platform to recruit.
Yeah, it's not, you know me.
No problem at all. Go Big Red.
Come on. Wait, who was that? Tony?
No problem at all. Go Big Red.
MRI.
Oh yeah.
That's that's where all that new voucher money's going. It's right to West Side.
Jeez.
Just turn it into a prep school.
Yeah.
So somebody asked me about that. They're like, I heard they're making West Side a prep academy. And I was like, what?
Yeah. You need 300 extra students just to make budget.
So you got to become prep academy. Got to get that extra money.
Yeah. I'm done with you.
What I do?
Everything. Look, you're a little high on the horses because the Blue Jays and Golden State won, and so you're feeling pretty good.
I'm just excited that Golden State's fun to watch again. That's what I'm excited
for
about.
now. It's early.
I know, but I was out pretty early the last couple of years too. They were miserable to watch.
Yeah.
I'm just glad Jordan Poole's not a part of my life anymore.
Wow.
Consistently. It's tough, man. It's tough out here.
It's not that bad.
That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We'll be back more Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Wrapping up hour number one here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Make sure you get out to Baxter Arena this weekend to get to the Omaha Mavericks hockey series, and you can buy the Omaha Hockey Yearbook that we put out here for Hurrdat Sports. Make sure you find our table over at Baxter Arena. That's tomorrow and Saturday. Make sure you get out there. D. Bizzle.
Yes.
I'm just saying.
What?
Somebody's like, hey, we're going to a dinner.
Yeah.
And they don't tell me the name of a restaurant. They don't tell me where we're going. I've got follow-up questions.
It was so okay. I get it. But it wasn't about me. It was, hey, I've got an idea.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in NIL. We want to have these because he's invested in Ryan's kind of invested in Kev's financial future. So he's like, hey, I want to set this deal up. I think this would be a cool idea. So I was like, oh, okay. It really didn't have anything to do with me months ago. It's grown into, hey, I'll throw you a bone.
Gotcha.
Like that's the so I just felt like, oh, I'm secondary, not necessary. So I don't really care because his schedule was the hard one to get around.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's why it kept changing. So then I was like, oh, that's fine. Yeah. I mean, I just won't eat.
It's not even about the eating part for me. It's just knowing where I'm going.
Yeah. Well, once he said he was driving, I really didn't care.
Yeah, I still care.
So, and I asked Knucklehead yesterday. I said, "Hey, so apparently I'm meeting you tomorrow. Are you going to want to eat?" And he goes, "Well, wait, it's in Lincoln, right?" And I go, "I don't know." So then I called Ryan yesterday. We were talking about something else, and he's like, "Oh no, it's in Lincoln." I was like, "Oh damn."
That's why I ask follow-up questions.
I know I'm supposed to be an adult. I should probably know.
It's all right. No,
Stop just going where people tell me, but it's
no.
fine.
I mean, honestly, that works for some people. I'm not wired that way. Like you tell me to go somewhere, I've got eight other questions.
I said, "Hey, can you follow me to my mom's?" "Yeah." "Can you send me an address?" "Well, why don't you just follow me?" "No, hey, how about you just send me an address?"
Yeah, like I have follow-up. I have follow-ups. Well, because listen, people drive different ways. What if I get caught between a light here? I'm not trying to run something, I'm just trying to.
You are very cautious.
It's called being safe.
Yeah.
That's why the NDOT likes us.
Yeah. Click it. No ticket. Brought to you by the NDOT.
Eyes focused straight ahead. That's me. I'm the driver.
You should listen to the pregame show at Nebraska. We have a funny trooper.
Oh yeah, no, I hear him. I hear him on the postgame too because he does.
We've had some
traffic
really good ones. So
yeah.
I think Trooper Brett. I think he'll ease into the comedic skits.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were coming off. He retired, but Trooper Dave, he was
pretty good.
Yeah.
Listen, we like him. We like a funny guy on the radio.
Hee ha ha.
But I'll be honest, I mostly hear him post game, and I'm not trying to hear it. Like most of the time, because they're giving traffic updates, and I'm obviously sitting there in traffic, and there's a billion people trying to get out of Lincoln. I get it, but he's like, "Yep, typical game day traffic." I'm like, "That's not helpful, Trooper Brett. It's not helpful at all. I understand this game day traffic. I can see it.
You got it. Why don't you just wait an hour?"
Because I'm not patient.
So that's why the media, when they do all their writing, sometimes you'll go back up in the press box.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And they'll come back from the presser
and then go right.
work.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm not a writer though, so I don't have I could just chill, I guess, but I feel awkward.
Yeah. What if you were a writer or a scribe? What would be your storyline this week? Play calling, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, play calling, bringing in consultants, the Dana Holgerson thing. But there's a thing we talked about on Monday that I've been thinking a lot about, and somebody actually sent me a DM about it. It was either Monday.
Always sliding in the DM.
It was either Monday or Tuesday, and it was because I asked you the question hey, how do you explain the differences in they show up and look like this against Indiana, they show up and look like this against Ohio State, they show up and look like this against UCLA, and we talked about kind of this subconscious with some of the older guys, this subconscious mental block about playing with expectations versus playing without expectations. And
maybe early.
Yeah. But if you go into that, that does kind of explain what you've seen.
Well, so how about this though, which is where I think maybe continuity, especially offensively, can help. Whatever happens when you panic or you're in a tough situation or you gotta kind of rally. I think a lot of the unevenness is not really knowing what to fall back on.
Yeah.
It's more like, let's try this.
Well, because
let's try this. I think that's why Coach Rule said, maybe we need to take a look at just the game planning, the installation of it.
I think part of the problem of it though is how many times has Coach Rule just said, "Hey, just go play. Just go play."
Yeah, 1,000.
Just go play. Play free. Just go play.
He said it. He said it again Monday.
He says it over and over and over again, right? Mm-hmm. So what I hear is what people fall back on is their anxiety. That's what I hear, because that's what prevents you from playing free, right? Is you call it anxiety, fear, whatever, right? There is some mental hurdle there. So that's what I think. I think they're falling back on their experience of failure. That's why I brought it up with the older guys. Is how many times have you brought up that here we go again mentality, right? That's what they're falling back on because that's all they know. When they've gotten in it, that's all they know. They jumped Colorado. They jumped them. That didn't really give them an opportunity to come back and to not have this here we go again or falling back on their failures. We did see it against Illinois. They got in a situation where it's we're getting squeezed a little bit here. What do we fall back on? For some guys, the only thing they have to fall back on is coming up short. And we saw that against Indiana. Indiana jumped on them. What did we see? They fell back on their bad habits or their history of failure. But there's no expectation against Ohio State, right? Nobody ever expected them to win that game. Nobody ever expected them to cover in that game. So you go out there and it's like, wow, it's fine. We can play free. Nothing to worry about. Nothing to lose. So you go down 14-3 against Ohio State. It doesn't matter. We're supposed to lose this game by 100. Who cares? You go out and you play free. Then you go out, UCLA. All of a sudden you play well against Ohio State. You go to UCLA. You go in and get UCLA at home. Now you've got the expectations of clinching a bowl game at home.
It's interesting you say that because I asked a couple of the guys about Ohio State and game prep. Remember what I think I maybe said this off air. What did I tell you the guys were saying about their defensive practices leading into Ohio State?
I don't remember.
It was there was no pressure. It was just
yeah.
We're just playing free and the rotations and I'm like, that's repeatable.
And even if it's an issue where it's like, hey, nobody thinks we're supposed to beat them, it doesn't matter. You understand, hey, Ohio State's good. They're going to get us a couple times. Even if it's just something small like that, where it's not, hey, we're expected to fail here, it doesn't matter. Even if it's something small like, hey, they've got good players.
I've been saying this offensively for maybe since week 4 about I can't wait to see when there's no pressure on Dylan to not turn the ball over. Like I've said that for almost 2 months now.
Yeah.
We've said, hey, be careful with the ball. Be careful with the ball. At some point it's just like, hey man, go play.
Yeah, just rip it.
Yeah, just go play.
I don't think the fact that was preached all since he got here, and the fact that we're having a hard time with him not letting the ball loose and finding open receivers, I don't think those are independent at all, right? Because that's what we've been complaining about the last month or so is, hey, these got guys open. He needs to rip it. And he's not, because what's been pounded into his brain, don't turn the ball over. You don't turn the ball over, we win. You don't turn the ball over, we've got a chance, right?
It's not don't drink lychee sparkling water.
That you should have known without having, the 6 months of lessons, but that's okay. Let's get to our guy, Jack, here on the Hurrdat hotline. Jack, what's going on, bud?
Hey, guys. Good morning.
Golden voice. What's up?
I want you to be straight with me, and I got big shoulders. If you think I'm wrong, just say so.
Okay.
But I've been giving this a lot of thought about this, let's just say consultant thing. And people have been kind of getting after old Matt for bringing these guys in, all that. You make $7 million a year to make these decisions. What are we doing? Yeah. Everybody in the state, yada, yada, yada. Okay. I think this, and you tell me what you think.
Okay.
You put yourself in his shoes. You're Matt Rule, and you've got on your staff a guy that's been a friend for years and years, a close personal friend. Think of a friend you've got. There's a close personal friend, and you're the coach, and he knew Saturday. I guarantee you, he was on the phone Saturday night to Holgerson and Mr. Snow because they got here way too quick for this to be a Sunday night decision. Okay. This is probably a wrong choice of words to say to validate the decision that you already know has to be made, but maybe to try to get it away to where, and I'm probably saying this wrong too, that not take you off the hook a little bit, but to maybe make that transition a little easier. And I also think there's a little problem at wide receiver. I think you got a young man there that's a son of a very close friend that you've tutored and brought along, and you're not getting blocking on the edges. You're not getting the performance you want out of those guys. And, I'll put it this way, and I don't mean him per se, but if there was a Mickey Joseph-style wide receiver coach here that was a my way or the highway or get the hell off the field kind of a guy, I think they'd be blocking better. So I'm going to leave it to you and see what you think, but I think he's catching a lot of heat over this from some sources that I think there's a system to his madness for bringing these people in here. He knows what has to be done.
Jack, appreciate the call as always. Good stuff there. We can maybe dive into some of that here in a little bit. But right now, we're going to talk some NFL with Cynthia Freeland of the NFL Network.
I got thoughts on that. Remind me.
We will. We'll get back to that after we talk to Cynthia. We gotta talk about NFL trade deadline.
Oh, you're just going to bring up quarterbacks?
No, I'm going to talk about Mike Williams and the Steelers.
Got it.
That's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla. More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
First down markers at the 7. Here's Herbert. Shotgun snap. Has time. Lets it fly. Right wide open. Josh Palmer. Touchdown Chargers.
Love takes the shotgun snap. Lions bring a late blitz. Love back. Looking, being chased. Love throw. Picked up the line. Kirby Joseph, left side. He's going to go, baby. Count it down. 5, end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. Oh, how big is that? How big is that?
Snap by Ferguson, hold by Martin. Kick by Bass is long enough. And it is good. Bombs away for Tyler Bass, who bombs it from 61.
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We are joined now by our friend Cynthia Freeland from the NFL Network. Cynthia, how are you this morning?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
Well, we've got a bye week on the collegiate level, so that's got us in pause. And Cynthia, full disclosure, we get the whole Russell Wilson McDaniels thing going on, as myself being the diehard Steelers fan. So I'm cautiously optimistic this week. How are you? Besides keeping up on all the trades.
Yeah, the trades are at least exciting, right? We have a bunch of years. I remember it was like nothing happened, bunch of crickets, and then now we get a bunch of trades, and now we're like, oh my goodness, we have to.
Okay.
A lot of figuring out to do.
All right, you're smart, so I'm going to try to get a 2-1 here. It seems like the NFL has kind of looked at either some other sports models or what, particularly in the NBA, where we're seeing more guaranteed money, shorter contracts, willing to leave a year or two on the table, kind of like the LeBron James thing, and we're seeing actual more straight-up trades. Did we fall asleep when this kind of became a thing, or should we have seen this coming with the way sports are moving?
I mean, it's a great kind of, I'm sure they look to other sports and kind of see what's going on to see what's the best practices, because you'd be stupid not to, right? You're smart to do that. But I think the other thing that's in play in our sport in particular is the way that the salary cap works, the floor and the ceiling. And now you have such extremely different pay for quarterbacks on rookie contracts versus quarterbacks who are on their actual contracts. Yeah. So, if you're trying to leverage a favorable contract, you should be trading in order to optimize your team for the season you're in, because you don't know what's going to happen after those contracts keep ballooning, right? So I think that also has an impact with it as well.
I mean, Cynthia, I think we can just go ahead and do the right thing and give the 49ers credit here for ushering in this new era. Because after they saw the Christian McCaffrey deal, everybody's like, hey, that's a great idea. Let's do that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
That's kind of funny, but it's true.
It's like, hey, you've got a guy. Yeah. You brought up the rookie contract, right? You got Brock Purdy cheap, and you're like, hey, we like the rest of our roster, but we're probably not quite good enough. Like, okay, whatever second-round pick we have to give up in order to get an impact maker is not going to be Christian McCaffrey, and certainly not going to help us.
Well, and if you also think about it, the closer you are to the draft, the more you kind of at least have some, idea of which quadrant you're going to be drafting in, right? Mm-hmm. So it's not like they would have been giving up like a top 10 pick, right? Think about it. The Christian McCaffrey, if you would have given up a first rounder, it would have been late first round or a late second rounder. So it really, you have at least an idea of where you're going to be drafting, so you know a little bit more about what you're giving up and what you could potentially get. And you also have some clarity. You brought up the college level. I was actually surprised this trade deadline that we didn't see more offensive linemen get moved around. Yep. I know the only one we saw was kind of to replace Christian Darrisaw up there in Minnesota. But, I'm looking at the college game, and it is a very light offensive lineman class this year. There's a couple, but not a deep class at all in that regard.
So, Cynthia, after all the dust settled and you look at all the moves that were made, which one do you think had the most impact on actually winning for that franchise?
Well, I think DeAndre Hopkins is already proving his value. I mean, we saw it this past week, but I think the opportunity to give Patrick Mahomes one more piece in a year where they just have, their injuries in the wide receiving core are ridiculous. Yeah. But you add Josh Uche to that. So I think the Chiefs Josh Uche might be low-key like one of the best moves that we've seen. Because if you think about it, this is a team that likes to blitz. This is a Steve Spagnuolo defense. He doesn't need to be a 3-down player. He can be a rotational guy that comes in on specific sets only. That's fine, right? So I think DeAndre Hopkins, along with Josh Uche, is probably the best two in or best team overall.
So this is interesting because I love the cap talk and team building, because obviously I'm benefiting as a Steelers fan from our quarterback situation with who's paying for whom's salary and the fact that we're on the tail end of a rookie deal. Would the closest model, if you're not able to finagle that, because that's obviously what everybody would want to do, I look at the Detroit Lions because their roster is really good, right? They go out and add a big-time corner in free agency in the offseason. And Goff, I think this year he's around 11% of the cap. Next year he's 12% of the cap. How rare is it to get a quarterback that's on his next deal? He's playing pretty well, and he's not breaking the bank. I don't know how much longer they can capitalize on Goff, but the 4-year 212 and his percentage of cap hit seems really advantageous for how they're drafting right now.
I mean, the other thing that the Lions kind of have going for them, well, if you think about it,
well, they hit in the draft.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're hitting in the draft. That really helps, right? But the one of the things that the Lions figured out really well was when they came over, when kind of the system came over from the Rams. So obviously when your GM comes, when Brad Holmes came over from the Rams, he had familiarity with Jared Goff. So he knew really, really specifically what Goff's strengths and weaknesses were. So I think part of what's really special about that is you give a guy like Goff, who, in LA, his time was over, you get him in a system that favors what he's actually good at doing and creates the opportunities for him to succeed. And you get him at a premium to the market because obviously, other places didn't value him in the same way. So it was a win-win. So a little bit of that is like very strategic. It's some version of like the right strategy, but also luck working out in your favor and being right about your analysis of the quarterback position, which, by the way, that is extremely hard to do. But the other part of it is he's finally in a system. I mean, this is one of, if not the best O-line in football right now. So Jared Goff standing behind that O-line creates an even better opportunity for the man to succeed. So, it's kind of part of the team building fundamentally from the inside out. It's always easier for teams when you have the lines right, the defensive and offensive lines, the spine of the defense. If all of those things are right, then it's easier to succeed.
How about this? You think there's, and it has to be in coach's DNA, but with Dan Campbell kind of being a former player, I don't mean to go all Lions hour. They're just an interesting team to profile. He's actually like a CEO. He's got a legit OC who doesn't, at least right now, appear to want to be a head coach. So I think that's pretty cool. And Glenn is going to interview, right? He has interviewed as a potential head coach at some point, but he's kind of just the face and his coach's coach. I don't know if he has a lot of comps around the league like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the thing that he really does is he has his personality and he injects that into the team's like their identity. So, he's a ground and pound football guy, and I bet you both coordinators are gone next year, but that's a different story for a different day. But, Dan Campbell is a football heart and soul type of person. So if you're looking at what he really is doing, it's having the right amount of influence in all of the different areas and also the right amount of, what kind of manager he wants to be, right? So he's found that delicate balance of where his personality best reflects where he should be micro or macro managing. So I think that's really what he's mastered, is figuring out that correct balance.
Cynthia, so I'm going to use the Lions to jump off into another topic here. One of the things that they've done, and I'm curious if you think it will become a trend, was when they drafted Jahmyr Gibbs early, I think earlier than a lot of people thought he would go, and you look at how successful they've been. Obviously, they've got the quarterback and a really good roster around that. But then you look at, you mentioned the college draft this year. You're going to have Jonty from Boise State. You're going to have Caleb Johnson from Iowa. You're going to have some guys in that running back room. Do you think teams might sort of start to shift their strategy a little bit and revalue running backs in the draft to a higher degree?
I don't think they'll be. I think that, Jahmyr Gibbs, because he can catch passes as well, like that allowed them to value him higher than maybe other teams would. I don't think overall first round is where we're going to see a bunch of running backs in late first round. Maybe that'll be the strategy, but I don't think we'll see. I think the days of a running back in like the top 10 are probably pretty over, or at least for a while. But I do think that teams will look at the running back position and see their guy versus the marketplace versus where they're drafting and value them a little bit more, for the ability to help their team this year. The difference is running backs in the free agent market, if they can get them, they're less expensive than other positions. So I think a lot of teams will be thinking with their pocketbook as opposed to in the draft figuring out, I'll wait for a Derrick Henry or remember Ezekiel Elliott went really high. I don't think that will be the case anymore.
Yeah, it's interesting as you pit it against the backdrop of not sure there's a great quarterback talent pool coming out this year, and you already referenced offensive line. It may just be by next up, right, and not necessarily like an indication of the philosophy, right? Because it doesn't appear to be a super strong quarterback draft, and you're right about O-line. I mean, maybe just by next best available with such good running backs this year, it could be a thing, but not a trend.
Yeah, and remember, especially in the first round of the draft, there is an advantage to drafting a guy in round one, and that's that you get that fifth-year option. Whereas, if you wait, so expensive positions like quarterback, left tackle, now right tackle as well, the wide receiver, corner, and your pass rusher in there. Like if there's one of those available, and by the way, this is a decent defensive tackle class it's looking like, which is random. We haven't had that in a while, but that's very random. But if one of those 5 premium positions are available, you probably take a flyer on one of them in round 1 and save the running back for early round 2, because the money that you're spending on those 5 premium positions, it's worth the extra year flexibility in their contract.
Cynthia, the NFL, they're smiling, right? It's a league that was supposed to be built on parity, and the cap and the way that they do money is supposed to reflect that. And I get it. There are very few, like Saints, Panthers, Las Vegas Raiders out there. How careful or how much of a thing is it that we don't fall in love with paying attention to scheduling in the second half of this season, because it is the NFL?
I mean, I think your schedule, matchups make for fights. So styles make for fights. So, I mean, I think you have to look and see. And by the way, it's extremely valuable to get that number, that only singular buy this in every single year, because, in the playoffs, a 1-game sample size, as we've seen, I mean, March Madness is called March Madness for a reason. It's the same thing with the playoffs in the NFL. In one game, a lot of weirdness can happen. So to me, like, your schedule, you kind of can't let up. There are no, maybe week 18 you can take a strategy when you already know your destiny. But as of right now, you should be trying to get that bye if you're playoff eligible, or in many cases trying to make the playoffs.
We're talking with Cynthia Freeland from the NFL Network. Cynthia, all right, I'm going to give you a couple teams here, and I want you to tell me which one you're most let's say concerned about for the second half of the season, being able to replicate what we saw in the first half. First team, the Atlanta Falcons. Second team, Houston Texans. Third team, Buffalo Bills. Fourth team, Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's interesting because, you got to look at their schedule. So, the Falcons, let's start with the Falcons, right? They get to play in the NFC South. Mm-hmm. And the NFC South is not the strongest division in football. So I know they're already having their second matchup this weekend against the Saints. And last time it was a weird one where they didn't even score an offensive touchdown. But I think they close out their division well, is what I presume. I mean, I don't think people are super scared of the Panthers. And, I think that the Bucs are tricky, but not as strong as we've seen them in recent years. So I think the Falcons are sitting pretty good, in pretty good shape. What was the second team you asked me about?
So it was the Falcons, Texans, Bills, and Steelers.
Great. So Texans, the thing I'm concerned about with the Texans is their offensive line. They keep kind of getting weaker and weaker in O-line play. It started off, I was not so concerned because it just looked like they were getting a bunch of penalties, and that was the problem. But the interior of their offensive line has given up the most sacks in the league, and that's just going to be hard for anyone, but especially hard when Stephon Diggs is no longer there. And even though Nico Collins is forecast to be back, I don't know if he's playing at 100. He'll be 100% when he does get back. So, that's concerning for me for them. But I still think they win their division pretty handily. They're also in a favorable schedule situation. I just don't think that they get the bye. The Bills, look, the Bills still have the Chiefs. They're coming up here, not this week, but the week after. They're playing a first place schedule, which is always more difficult. However, they already beat Miami twice. My dogs, I'm sorry, are.
I love it. It's good. We like.
We're big dog.
They're really they love each other. They're like if Gronkowskis were dogs. Like all they do is wrestle, like suplex each other. It's crazy. So they're huskies. They're very cute.
Oh, bless your heart for the goat dogs. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, Bills have basically already secured their division, so they'd be playing for the bye. I'm not super worried about them. And Steelers, that's the one they're just in the hardest division. I know you're a Steelers fan. It's the hardest division in football. Well, maybe second hardest in the NFC North, but the AFC North is tricky. The Ravens are right there, like on your heels. And then there's always some strange things that happen. Like there's always like that weird Bengals game or that weird Browns game where, their division situation dictates a loss that we wouldn't expect. Right. So I just think that by virtue of being in that division, it's probably the hardest of the four that you mentioned.
All right. We're going to go old school literally and go tree of trust. We'll just rapid fire with your trust level for these teams. I'll just let you say yay or nay. If you want to expound, we'll roll. Philadelphia Eagles.
I do trust them. They are in a bad division.
The New York.
I know the Washington is good now, but I think the Eagles, they get a boost because the NFC has like a few at the top, and then they're kind of like it's a weird year in the NFC.
The New York Jets.
Nope.
Now that's a bad division.
I trust them this week because I think they surprise the surging Cardinals, but I still think I don't trust them over.
Oh, that's interesting because next up I'm Kyler Murray comeback player of the year guy from last year, the Arizona Cardinals.
I think they're exceeding expectations. Like I didn't expect this much for them, but I think that they have a legit shot to win the division. So I think I'd have to trust them. They're mostly because of what I thought ahead of the season, right? I didn't think they'd be this good, and they're exceeding.
Tricky one here. The Houston Texans.
I mean, when you have that defense and that quarterback, I guess I trust them, and I do think they win their division. So yes, I trust them.
Should they be better? I hate saying that because I've competed. It's hard to win, but they seem like they should be better.
I mean, I think it feels like the hard part about all of this is, this year has been a weird year. Like the Chiefs are undefeated, and yet it doesn't feel like that offense that we're used to seeing light up the world is the reason that they're winning, right? So I don't know. I mean, let's see how they finish, right? It's not how you start, it's how you finish. So getting a little healthier with Nico Collins back. It's not really on CJ Stroud. A lot of the work, he's not somehow gotten bad, right? Like he's still excellent. So we just need more than Joe Mixon out there as a legitimate offensive threat.
Yeah, how about his rebirth? Like I saw Cynthia, full disclosure, I'm one of those guys that when the Bengals were going into the season, they were my prime regression candidate because I felt like they had lost too much and there was a little bit of turmoil. But it started with Mixon. I get the versatility within that offense, but the receivers aren't healthy. He's flourishing. What do you think it is about him landing in Houston that's allowed him to perform like this?
I mean, I think, between Bobby Slowick, between Gerard Johnson, the infrastructure they have in place for him to be able to learn the position really well and with a lot of the right supporting cast from the non-on-the-field standpoint, I think that has been like the reason for CJ Stroud. Remember, Gerard Johnson himself played quarterback. He is an excellent teacher. No one talks about him, but he'll eventually get to the point where he's an OC or even a head coach. He's a really great guy. He had come from Minnesota, so he had experience there before, obviously, with Kirk Cousins, because he was there, not this year, of course.
Couple quickies. If most general managers try to keep their job, the good ones excel at their job. You can't get fired in Dallas as a GM. Would you have sold off some pieces if you were them, or are you thinking, well, we're gonna look a lot different next year anyway? Let's see.
I mean, I think given the fact that they were buyers, and Jerry Jones told us they'd be buyers in free agency, and even though it's kind of a weird, wide receiver acquisition, right? Yeah, that even though it's maybe viewed as weird, it shows that they're focused on next year, right? Like they are focused on the future. They've already paid all these people in this offense, so I don't know. I feel like the way that they believe. What would I do versus this? I'm not sure. I don't know their cap. I'd have to look at. I would imagine like I said, I would have traded for an offensive lineman in general, but especially on this team, they need to figure out some things in the run game. They need to figure out more depth at the wide receiver position, even after adding Jonathan Mingo. And I mean, their defense is great, but they're just not on the field.
All right, Cynthia, I'll get you out of here on this one, at least last one from me. I'm a 49ers fan, so I'm going to be selfish here and ask a 49ers question. The injuries this year have obviously been a huge part of their kind of slow start. Do you buy them to get healthy enough to get to where people thought they would be when the season started, or is this just a season from hell, they never get it together?
I think that, look, if Christian McCaffrey can be the Band-Aid to what's going on and the bridge to what goes on in the red zone. I mean, this is a team that has been relying on non-red zone scoring to win games, and it's worked enough, except for when, your kicker gets injured in the game, et cetera. But if Christian McCaffrey, who is excellent in the red zone, this is the guy with the most touches, this is the guy with the most touchdowns last year, this is the red zone king from last year. If he can go back to that status this year, then I think the Niners are okay. If the red zone is still a problem with Christian McCaffrey, then unfortunately, the injury bug is too big of a biter, and this isn't the year for it.
Last one for me, Cynthia. You kind of referenced what's going on with OCs, in particular in Detroit with Ben and those guys. Is Vrabel the next hot commodity coach, or are you going current coordinator?
It's a great question. I mean, Vrabel's hanging out in Cleveland helping out, which I don't know. That's interesting. That's an interesting place to be right now or this year. But, I would probably imagine some of the names that we look at. I mean, Vrabel's an excellent guy. I'm sure he'll get some looks. I think it would depend on where the openings lie, right? Like I would imagine
there's going to be like 6 or 7 probably, I'm guessing.
I mean, if history tells us anything, that's probably around the number. But I mean, look, like, Bill Belichick is still on the ether, and people were excited about him last year, and he's actually helped himself by taking a year off. And there's some pretty interesting potential openings coming up. So to me, I think Vrabel's as good of a name as any. However, I think teams might look at some of these hotter name, like sort of coordinators to give them a first time try, as opposed to, Vrabel, former player, but a retread from Tennessee, where it was kind of weird. Like it was kind of weird how he left. I guess I'd have to find out more about what were the circumstances that he left under, because it went from like things are fine to like out the door.
Cynthia Freeland from the NFL Network. Cynthia, we appreciate it as always. Great stuff. We'll talk to you again soon.
Always fantastic. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having me. Bye, guys.
That's Cynthia Freeland from the NFL Network. Coming up next, we've got more Hurrdat Sports Radio. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla.
We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. DB, we were doing kind of an exercise as we got off the air there with Cynthia.
Yeah.
Because you asked her about Mike Vrabel.
Yes, I did.
Which I thought was a good question. So I asked
Thank you. She did too.
I go, hey, where does Vrabel make the most sense? So
I had an easy answer.
You did, but then we started out listening at the jobs we thought would be open.
Yeah, you want to read my chicken scratch?
We got to 8. I think I can.
Okay, so
we have some that are already open.
Yeah, so let's start with the Jets.
Yeah.
Desirable job?
No.
Okay. Saints?
No.
Raiders?
No.
Sorry, Shay.
No. God, no.
What kind of crap is that?
Well, I know he's still employed, but for the last 5 years in season, you've either fired a coach or a coordinator, and he will be gone at the end of the season.
Yeah, that's a no for me. You got no quarterback. You got no.
That's a destination job if you want a sabbatical.
I say if you're looking for that sweet buyout check after 3 years in court with Mark Davis, then
this dude said so. I want that.
Yeah, you want to get paid while you're doing that, though.
Fudge, man. You have no idea. All right, so I'm going to hold this one.
I think there's some maybes.
So there's
some maybes
there's
on here,
two I'm going to
sure.
put together.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hold those,
Mm-hmm.
okay? The New York Giants, will that job be available?
I think yes.
Desirable job?
Better than the Jets.
Better than the Saints.
Better than the Saints. Better than the Raiders. But I don't on this list, I don't think it's probably middle pack of desirable jobs.
Okay. Jacksonville.
Not a desirable job.
Will it be open?
Yes. I think they're over it.
Not even with Lawrence in place?
No, I mean, he's got to play better at some point, and I just don't know if that's going to happen.
I was being serious.
No, I know. I'm that, and I am too. Like, you obviously know how I feel about his talent, but like at some point, talent's just a thing on paper. Like, you have to perform, and he hasn't.
Okay. Of these last three, well, I'll start with this one because I do think it'll be open.
Mm-hmm.
Dallas.
Dallas is interesting because I don't think it's a bad roster. I do think it's an old roster. You're not going to have a ton of.
It's not very deep.
You're not going to have
anywhere,
and you're not going to have a ton of flexibility because of who they already paid. So you've got some decent top end talent.
Is Dallas a better job than the Jets?
Yes, 100%.
Better job than the Saints.
Yes.
Better job than the Raiders.
Yes.
Better job than Jacksonville.
Yes.
Is it a better job than the Giants?
I think we're close there, but Dak is significantly better than the quarterback situation in New York.
Is it?
I think so. I mean, Daniel Jones isn't going to be your quarterback next year, I don't think. So an unknown is just kind of. I mean, I have to take Dak over an unknown. I think.
Of these guys,
although
guys so far up to this point, I feel like Dable gets the most respect.
Yes, I think he's the best coach we're firing.
Better than McCarthy.
Yes.
Would you like
currently?
Okay.
Currently.
Okay.
McCarthy's had a better career, obviously. I think
now these last two are interesting because they're technically not open.
Yeah, technically, most of these aren't open, but that's okay.
The Cleveland Browns. Will Kevin Stefanski be run out of Cleveland? I joke for the last year.
Yeah,
and people know why now because one day we think he's really good,
mm-hmm.
and then the next time we don't. Now he's quirky. I think he's a good football coach.
Can two things be true at the same time here?
I don't know. It depends on what you tell me.
I think he's a good football coach, and I think he might get fired.
Okay, is that a good job?
No.
You have zero quarterback.
Yeah, no, it's not because and you're strapped with that dead money no matter what happens
mm-hmm.
with Deshaun Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he's on the roster or not, it's dead money. So you're in a really bad spot, and that honestly might be the biggest reason to keep Stefanski is because who else wants that job?
Well, you do have a couple of good young pieces defensively, but you're going to have to pay your mid guys that aren't old yet.
Yes, I like their roster, but outside of the quarterback spot, and they flubbed the quarterback spot so badly
mm-hmm.
that there's really no way out. This isn't even Russell Wilson in Denver bad. This is so many degrees past that they have no way out. Like, I've listened to a million cap experts talk about the Deshaun Watson deal. They have no way out for like 2 more full years. No. It's 70 to 80 million each of the next 2 years.
And here's the last one that I clearly think is the best job.
Mm-hmm.
But you have I'm not so sure you want this ownership group either because they don't spend money.
Mm-hmm.
And I think smart coaches look at this organization and they think it's always something.
Yeah.
The Chicago Bears.
I think that's the best job we've talked about for this particular group because you've got a quarterback that most people think are going to be pretty good, and I think is going to be pretty good. He's young. He's started to sort of figure some things out, right? You've got a pretty good roster in general in place around him. There's no obvious albatross or anchor around your neck to say, this is why I can't succeed there, or this is why it would be exceedingly hard to succeed there, right?
How long would it have taken you to try to move DJ Moore? By the end of the game?
Yeah, probably not that long. Probably not that long.
That's the number one no.
Yeah.
That what he did is like, there's no real coming back from that.
Yeah, but because it's a wide receiver and he doesn't have some onerous contract, you can get rid of him. Like, he's a guy you can get rid of. This isn't a Deshaun Watson situation. That's the way. Like, there's no. Like, okay, you get rid of DJ Moore, you feel better. You still got some guys, some weapons that you like. You know, you've got some defensive pieces that you like. I think you look at that job and you're okay. Maybe you don't love ownership. I didn't love the ownership in Houston either, right? I think Houston's ownership.
D'Amico has overcome McNair's his perception.
100%, right? Not just of the ownership, but the people the ownership put in place in the front office that were looked at as a disaster. That was by far looked at as one of the worst jobs of that hiring cycle. I remember like pounding my fist on the table saying, "Dear God, D'Amico, please don't take that job because I like my guy."
Foreman talked me off that ledge a long time ago when he got hired.
Yeah.
That because of the familiarity that he'd
be okay.
He'd give him respect.
Yeah. Which is good, and that's insight that I obviously didn't have. But I looked at that as, hey, that's a bad organization from the top down, and that's going to be a really hard place to succeed. I don't think Chicago's as toxic as that, or as I perceived that to be. I think a guy like Vrabel, who kind of has this inherent respect with most people in the NFL, he seems like he's one of the most respected guys in the league, that he would have an opportunity to be really, really good there.
You have any shockers you think happen in the second half of the season?
Of teams letting their coaches go?
Or making a run.
Ooh.
Or falling. First of all, who's the best team in the NFC South? You like the Falcons?
By default?
NFC West.
I still think the 49ers win that division.
You know who my pick was, right?
Rams.
Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, the 49ers are the only team with a positive point differential in that division still, even though that they're in third place technically.
Keep an eye on I think the Rams
are playing the best right now.
I think they're better than anybody in the league thinks, and they're starting to get healthy.
Yeah. Now, I think it's either the Rams or the 49ers. If Christian McCaffrey's healthy, I think it's the 49ers.
Geno Smith would stop throwing the ball to the other team. Seattle ain't bad either.
Yeah, but he's been throwing the ball to the other team a lot. That's like me saying, well, if Trevor Lawrence ever plays up to his talent.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to give you one. Who's the next best team in the AFC East?
It's probably the Jets by default, right?
It's not.
Who do you think it is?
I think it's the Dolphins.
Really?
Man, Miami may have a run in them.
With your guy Tua back there?
Don't laugh. Miami may have a run in them. And I think they have the best coach.
I would by far prefer it to be Miami. You know how I feel about the Jets.
But it's so hard. How quickly was Cynthia's no?
Yeah. On the Jets?
Trust the Jet? No.
Yeah, because that's a situation where you don't trust the ownership.
Man, that roster's legit.
You don't trust the quarterback.
How could they mess up that roster?
They found a way. They got it.
No, not really. Like, we haven't had the full Aaron Rodgers experience playing. We're just into it now.
Sure. Well, it's not looking great though. It's off to a pretty bad start.
Well, it depends. Are you watching one half of football or the whole game?
I'm watching 9 games.
Because that second half of
he diced up a little bit. Like he's had his moments where he's diced some teams up. Like I get it, but you're also dealing with a guy that does not seem to be particularly fun to be around for an entire season. You're dealing with an ownership group that has put all their eggs in that basket and mortgaged everything else to be in that situation. They fired their coach. Like, is Jeff Ulbrich a good head coach? I have no idea. Is he a good coach at all? I have no idea.
Let me ask you something. Will the Chiefs have the 1 seed in the AFC? Right now today. Undefeated.
I'm going to say yes.
Who's their biggest threat?
The Ravens. They're 2 games clear of everybody and 3 games clear of the Ravens. Like, it's going to be hard to catch them. That's the issue. And, I mean, that defense and Patrick Mahomes, what do you want me to do?
Wait.
What do you want me to do?
And pray they don't have the ball last?
We've got Brian Edwards coming up next.
We will be back. We will be back. will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, wrapping up hour number 2 on AM 590 ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Do we have Brian?
Not yet.
Okay, we're working on our friend here, Brian Edwards, to get into a little bit of, gambling talk as we head into the weekend. I do think it's interesting that when we look at some of these jobs we were talking about. I don't know if it's just the star on the helmet or whatever. I do think Dallas is a better job than maybe we're giving it credit for. Now, that could be the Jerry Jones effect too, where we're just like,
who's you think? Who should I ask? Tom Landry?
You could ask Brian.
Yeah, ask Tom Landry. We've got our guy Brian.
Mike McCarthy?
Ask Jason Garrett.
Jason Garrett? Who should I ask if Dallas is a better job than I think it is?
Although I will say, every time that people are like, hey, they need to fire this guy, he tends to get another year or two.
Yeah.
It's not like he's got a super quick hook.
Yeah.
So I think to coaches, I do think that matters. Let's get to our guy Brian Edwards here, our Vegas insider. All right. Is the third time the charm on the video stream? Brian, can you hear us? Can we hear you?
He's smiling.
I can hear you guys.
There it is.
We got it. We got it.
All right.
Look at us.
You had the right smile. I'm like, oh, shoot, he can hear us. Here we go. You want to get the Napier question out of the way
yeah,
first?
can you hear the upset coming for Florida and Billy Napier this week?
Not with a third-string quarterback, although DJ Lagway was questionable rather than doubtful yesterday, but I can't imagine them throwing him out there unless he's 100%, and I can't imagine him being 100%. So, no, I'm not smelling an upset. I will point out the Gators are 6-2 against the spread as double-digit underdogs during Billy Napier's disastrous 3-year tenure that also includes a 10-18 straight-up record against all Power 5 competition. I say Power 5 because Oregon State was on the menu in 2022. That's why I said P5 rather than P4. But I have no play. I have no play or no opinion on that game.
It seems like you got a little bit of opinion.
See, this one's interesting. I'm going to get this one out of the way early because it involves my Stillers. Less than a key number at home against probably pretty equal teams. You taking the bait?
Yeah, so I've backed the Commanders 8 games in a row since week 2. Once I saw that even though they lost at Tampa Bay in week 1, I thought Jaden Daniels looked great. So I've been on them 8 games in a row, 7-0-1 ATS. So I mean, I would probably like Indiana this week in college, which we'll get to in a minute. Like, they're starting to get kind of expensive, but they're just an automatic play for me because and so Washington's an automatic play for me, but I still think they're undervalued. I can't believe they're less than 3 here, and they're automatic at home, straight up and ATS. And, I won't bore you with all the stats. Everybody knows how good they are. I've got them number 4 in my power rankings. And I like the Steelers. I think I've got them, I want to say 8 in my power rankings, if I'm not mistaken. But Washington at home, 3 or fewer. Give me the Commanders.
Staying with the NFL for a second, you've got Lions as a road favorite.
Boo to that, by the way. Boo.
Don't worry about it. It's fine.
All
Lions
right.
as a home favorite or a road favorite against the Texans at -3. What do you like that number just at -3, or is there a little bit of wiggle room there if that changes?
Yeah, no, I would be okay at 4, and it is 3.5 or 4. If you can buy it to 3 from 3.5 and it's -130 or cheaper, I would do that. But if it's -135 or more expensive, just lay the 3.5 or 4. I'm sorry, Detroit has won 6 in a row, both straight up and ATS. 4 of those wins by double-digit margins. They're 5-1, both straight up, and ATS is a single-digit favorite. Last 5 games, Jared Goff 11 touchdowns, no picks. At 24-14 last week does not do it justice. It was 24-3 with like 10 minutes left in the third, and it was rainy conditions. Detroit could have scored more. That was a blowout. But Detroit's the best team in the NFL, and Houston's struggling. Give me the Lions. And let's parlay or reverse. If you are familiar with that, the 4-1 2-game parlay that pays 4-1. Let's do that with Detroit and Washington.
Here we go.
All right, my man Ryan is all in on that one. All right, B, I'm sensing a theme here. You're going back to your cash wagons.
Playing the hits.
I've got Indiana we got to talk about, and we've got Vandy. I'm sure they're keeping your bankroll fairly substantial.
Yeah, last weekend was one of my best ever. And I parlayed and reversed Indiana and Vandy last week, and I'm doing that again this week, just like Lions and Commanders last week and this week. Indiana, now it's moved up to 14.5 or 15. I feel like you kind of need to have it at 14. I got 13.5 early in the week, so I'd buy it from 14.5. So Indiana had not trailed all year, and they fall down 10-0 to Sparty, so all they do is score 47 unanswered. Curtis Rourke had missed 1.5 games, comes back, 4 touchdowns, no picks. He's now 19-3 TDI-INT ratio on the year. Michigan's lost 3 of its last 4, mired in a 1-4 ATS slump, all 4 of its losses by double digits. And Will Johnson, their star corner, projected first-round pick, has missed back-to-back games. Johnson and the other starting corner are both listed as questionable. That's no bueno against Rourke in the passing game. Indiana has never won 10 games ever. They will go to 10-0 on Saturday. And if Kurt Cignetti is not National Coach of the Year, it'll be a crime.
Oh, if he's not National Coach of the Year, the crime will be that he killed someone.
Right. That's the only way.
Yeah, just ask him.
Love that guy. So as for Vandy, I made them pick them at home against South Carolina. I'm pretty sure they haven't beaten South Carolina since 2008. South Carolina was gunning for that game last week, off the open date, home game, and they played great. They were fantastic, but I think that kind of sets up a bit of a flat spot. But, I mean, I would like Vandy anyway. Vandy's been an underdog 6 times this year, 6-0 ATS, 4 outright wins. Diego Pavia, 15-3 TDI-INT ratio. He's still Hugh Freeze's daddy. Toss-up game. Give me Vandy. I'll buy the half point from 3.5 to 4. Their losses this year have been by 3 twice and by 4. So nobody's beaten them by more than 4. They're on a roll. I like Vandy.
Are you ready to put a long-term bet on Clark Lee being your new head coach at Florida?
No, wait a minute. No. Can I just tell you something about what so I've got buddies all infiltrated in that Vandy program. My man Clark Lee in the offseason has to make a ton of wholesale changes with his staff. It's topsy-turvy. They don't know what to do. They find this guy Pavia in the portal, right? Modelos galore. They changed the total trajectory of the program, and now Clark Lee's a great coach again. Coaching is amazing.
Yeah.
Right? It's like whether you're Stefanski or we're not sure if any of these guys can coach. We just were like, I don't know. Are they good again? Is Ryan Day a good coach? Oh, I don't know. Is he winning? Oh, he's not beating the right team. It's like it's crazy, B. It is an absolute crapshoot.
Clark Lee.
Yeah, that trip to Las Cruces for Lee was a career saving and defining moment. And Pavia was committed to Nevada. But when Kill decided, and he was actually going to see Tim Beck, the OC, rather than Jerry Kill. But when Kill said his health was, he might not be there next year, then he started recruiting Kill. And so when he got Kill was like called Diego and like, hey. So
Diego,
the rest is history.
All right, staying on college here. One of my other pet teams, one of my other favorites, other than the Vanderbilt Commodores, who will unfortunately be looking for a new coach soon because they'll be at Florida, is my guys at Army. How are you feeling about the Bryson Daly situation? I'm honking for Monken. Like, where's Army at for you this week?
Well, I'm still bitter at Monken for last week. I mean, they had an open date. There's not a word about Bryson Daly being injured. He's doing national interviews last Wednesday on ESPN, and what do they call it? The car wash. He does all the ESPN, and then he's just out Saturday morning. Like, what?
Listen, it's West Point, man. It's a covert operation.
It is. This is true. Well, so Monken said he's questionable to probable a couple of days ago. Look, if he's playing, if I find it out Saturday morning, I'm all over Army -6 at North Texas. But I'm not touching it until I know Bryson Daly's playing, because that was one of my very few L's last weekend, and I'm still bitter about it.
Hey, so will the Lane train get a boost this weekend to be in Gainesville?
I tell you what, man, I looked at I was kind of thinking this one was going to be a win for Ole Miss. Look at their injury report last night. Nope. Now I like Georgia. Now I've invested on Ole Miss's season win total. So it's kind of a hedge if I do Georgia -145 money line. But I mean, Trey Harris is doubtful. Starting center is doubtful. Their second or third best receiver, not Juice Wells, Jordan Watkins, he's doubtful. Running back 1 is Henry Parrish is out. Running back 2, Matt Jones, is doubtful. I mean, they are a bunch of guys questionable. I mean, Ole Miss's injury situation's bad. So I went from leaning Ole Miss to now leaning Georgia, and then obviously rooting for Georgia because I want Lane Kiffin, unless Kurt Signetti would leave, but I don't know that he would even leave Indiana.
You're more confident that Lane is going to leave Ole Miss than you are Signetti's leaving Indiana?
Hey,
yes is the answer on that.
I got to ask you, to take a shot at myself, since I've been taking pot shots at you the whole time. I'm surprised you're not fading the 26.5 with Florida State this week.
I was prepared to speak on that, but they're 14.5 for first half bets. If it was 14, I'd be on Notre Dame. Then I look at the team total; it's 34.5, and FSU's defense has not been that bad.
They're not
so
bad.
I might at the last minute play Notre Dame's team total over, but right now it's just it's a lot.
See, what you're forgetting about is the defense isn't bad, but the offense loves to throw it to the other team. So
yes,
you might get your points there.
Ooh,
B, we appreciate it as always. Can't wait to see Clark Lee in Gainesville.
All right, y'all have a good one.
Thanks, B.
We'll be back more at Sports Radio.
We will be back. be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We're back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. What's up, DB? What you laughing about?
Well, I usually like T-Mac. That's my guy.
Yeah, but you might have killed somebody? My bad. I was just reading the comment.
No.
Exactly.
I was just reading the comment.
Although I'm not sure Jessica would have my back either. That's not the one I would have played. She probably would throw dirt and laugh at me.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Nah, she'd help you out on the back end, but she would make fun of you the whole time.
So we got these steaks delivered. Les.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Our guy Les.
And I forgot that Jess doesn't eat meat. So, she had her cooler. This huge rainbow fashion cooler, right? Because I'm like, oh, fudge, leave it to Jess. Like, super prepared, had the ice packs. And I left her Sharpies, too. And I'm like, wait a minute. You don't eat meat. Like, how are you going to be able to appreciate these Wagyu steaks?
Right.
She's like, oh, I'll give them such. And I was like, they probably have no idea how good how good this is.
You're like, just go give those back. Just go ahead and give those back.
I wanted to. But it was one of our coworkers, and he does a lot for us. So I'm like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, give those back.
I made one Sunday.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
We got to get to our guy here, Michael.
No,
Bruns.
he doesn't eat meat. We don't have to talk to him.
Michael Bruns, Husker 24/7.
Yep.
What's up, Bruns?
How you guys doing?
Mushroom gravy. How we doing, buddy?
He's hating on you over here. I don't know why.
Some big hand energy from Damon Benning.
He knows why. Bruntz has been getting off shots all week. Bruntz, I used to like you. That was fun. Those were the days.
Just trying to get through the bye, Damon. That's all I'm doing.
Bruntz, that might have been the single greatest line Schaefer has ever uttered. So I told you, I talk about you guys all the time, even when you're not on the show, because I always come see you three. And I told BC, I think you guys sit in order, right? Shafe's first. He's kind of the least jovial and the most serious. BC's in the middle. He's kind of like sometimey. And unfortunately, because this is kind of a compliment, you're kind of clearly the funniest. So I say goodbye in order. So Shafe comes over. So I shook Shafe's hands, and Shafe goes, like I leaned in close, and he kind of lowered his voice, and he goes, I think we have a good enough relationship for me to say this. And don't take this the wrong way, but your hands are a lot bigger than I would have thought. Bro, we were in tears. Especially Shafe in that moment. Like, the timing was beautiful, and I literally, I was in tears, and so now Bruntz thinks he's funny too.
I feel like if I had to bet, if you gave me a blind resume on which of the 24/7 guys said that, I think I'd have guessed BC.
No way.
I think so. I think so.
No way.
Yeah,
I would have guessed Bruntz,
because Bruntz is definitely the guy that's going to make fun of whoever said it. That's 100% how it's going to go.
Yeah.
But I feel like BC is the one that says it first.
The delivery was like Netflix comedy show worthy.
Well, I mean that's pretty interesting.
I mean the quiet, low voice lean in. I feel like our relationship.
I'm glad you didn't find it awkward that he was rubbing your hand with his other hand.
Now,
and Bruntz is like trying to. I mean, there's all these recruits. And Bruntz is kind of like trying to do his job.
Trying to work.
He's like, what? By the way, Bruntz, like, are you getting a feel on kind of the long-term or short-term implications of 60 some odd guys? I mean, they had some fellas there. Of the return so far, or is this going to be kind of a slow burn?
Well, I think the thing that here's what stood out to me, and I think I might have said this to you when we were standing there. Like I don't remember that ever having that many like guys with offers and like legit recruitable prospects from the state of Kansas and the state of Missouri. At one game.
Oh yeah, you did. You did say that.
Like it was like every guy that was going through, it was like, oh, here's a 27 lineman from Missouri. Here's a wide receiver from Kansas that's got Kansas State, Kansas, and offers like that. I mean that stood out to me. I don't know. I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's the recruiting calendar is so screwy now from what it has been, where there's focus on guys like Chase Lofton that are 25, but I mean, Nebraska is very, very much into the 26, 27, and 28 classes. They had a couple 28s there from Kansas that had offers already. So it's they're working ahead, and I mean that's kind of what you have to do now. So we'll see, but I mean getting guys on campus as sophomores for games, I mean, there's a lot of benefit to that because you've started that relationship. Obviously, the game didn't go how you would have wanted it to, but, it kind of getting that first taste of the atmosphere and hopefully getting them back in the spring for junior days and things like that. I mean, that's the goal. So, I mean, it was a really impressive list, and, it was a 2:30 kick, which helps you a little bit, but I mean, for the number of guys that they got for a 2:30 game, I thought was pretty impressive.
Bruntz, we've seen already our guy Coach Rule hopping on the old PJ to visit some recruits during the bye week here.
Yeah, he left yesterday around noon for Arizona.
Yeah, went out and see Malcolm Simpson, or was on the way to see Malcolm Simpson. I think he's on his way to see Jackson Cantwell. as well. Like, is there any guys that you're hearing are just super high priority for him to get out and see, either to try and continue a relationship with a guy like Jackson Cantwell or to shore up a relationship when you've got some new suitors in town for a guy like Malcolm Simpson?
Yeah, well, I mean, Simpson's a big one. And there's a few guys in the class that you kind of need to make sure are solid. And, with the changes in the recruiting calendar, I mean, this is the chance that you're going to have to get out and see a lot of those guys. And, Simpson's interesting. I mean, you've got Texas hanging around, USC's hanging around. I think in that situation, the fact that Nebraska was first to offer and came in really heavy right away, I think that's kind of, been really valuable in Nebraska, kind of keeping him in the fold as things have kind of blown up in his recruitment. I mean, he was obviously under-recruited for what he is. He's just kind of a freak athlete that I think Nebraska feels like they just have to teach to play defensive line. And, they're starting with a pretty good canvas there at least. So, it's a mix. I mean, you've got guys like Simpson you got to get out and see now to make sure that, the stove's still hot there. And then, if you can, you go see Cantwell, you go see your priority guys in 2026, because, I mean, you're probably going to have some of those guys making spring decisions, and you need to kind of keep that going. I mean, with Cantwell too, he's a guy that I think Nebraska's in it a little bit more than maybe probably what's being acknowledged nationally about where they stand. And part of that is, Matt Rule is very, very, very involved in that recruitment. So yeah, we'll see. But I mean, this is, I think everybody's kind of trying to figure out how to work this recruiting calendar. Because before you'd be doing the dinner circuit, right? You'd be in living rooms in December. You'd be posing around the Christmas tree, which is always one of the great parts of that, was kind of seeing what everybody's got going on with their holiday decorations. And then, now you're kind of having to hustle a little bit while, oh, by the way, you're having to still game plan for games, and, the portal stuff's coming up in December too. So it's a busy time that's kind of gotten even busier, I think, with the way that the calendar is now.
I'm going to get to the new coaching hires in a second, because we had a caller that had a pretty good question, or a hypothetical that I'm going to ask you about. But real quick, to put a bow on this one, when you look at kind of the recruiting and the lay of the land and the landscape here locally with media and the fan base and the coaching staff, were you surprised or pretty spot on to hear Coach Rule say, we've got guys basically chomping at the bit to come here and lining up to come here? I don't worry about that part of it. He said that with supreme confidence.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, well, I think sometimes, people get caught up in, immediate results, and there's part of that plays into recruiting. But I mean, it's relationships, and it always will be. I guess there's NIL now that also is part of that, making sure that looks right for everybody. But I don't know that recruitment shift as dramatically as maybe you think with a game or two where you don't play well. I think kids sometimes understand that sometimes you're building, or you're trying to get things where you want it to be, and stuff like that's going to happen. So yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that there's, he says there's guys that are still wanting to go there. I mean, I think there's guys and really talented players that Nebraska's still trending with, in spite of the last 3 games. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot to like at Nebraska. You just got to get the piece, on the field more consistent. But it's in a lot of these situations, it's 2-3 year relationships, and I think sometimes guys don't get wrapped up so much in what happens between the lines when they're visiting Nebraska on a particular day. I mean, I think you kind of have to look at the whole picture a little bit more if you're a recruit, and I think that's kind of what's happening there.
Bruntz, I'm going to give you just strictly a hypothetical. This is definitely not about a team that exists currently and is happening right now. What about like a 10-game sample size where you start ranked in the top 10 and then you end up going like 1-9 to start a season? How does that affect recruiting?
Is that a
hypothetical?
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically.
That's a hypothetical. I don't know. I mean, it's
because like that has to be part of the Chase Lofton thing, right? Like if we're being honest.
I think Chase Lofton just wants a healthy environment.
That's fine.
Like I think he looks at everything in its totality, right? Like
you don't look at Florida State as a super healthy. I mean, the hypothetical.
I don't know how he feels about like the fan base and stuff, but I think he does want to. I think he clearly wants to know what environment he's putting himself in.
Sure.
Well, and I mean, there's also, I mean, in your strict hypothetical, there's hypothetically distance is probably a factor there too. Like, you know, how far are you willing to go from home for a situation that's hypothetically precarious? I think that's part of it.
I bet he's willing. I bet he's willing to get away if he really wants to get away. I bet he doesn't think about distance. If he really wants to get away, you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I mean, if where you're going is maybe not as attractive as it was. 4 or 5 months ago,
what you'd be willing to put up with.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's good point.
I think that's maybe a piece of it, but I don't know. I mean, I think, you know, the relationship piece of it's big in that hypothetical. I think
I'd go to Alaska if they paid me enough.
Fairbanks is beautiful this time of year.
Listen, I get your analogy, Bruntz. Yes, I could be miserable for a lot of money.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
But kind of.
Yeah, so that's true. No, I mean, I think it's always evolving, right? Like, you know, what does a hypothetical 1-9 situation look like for a coaching staff, and how's that going to change things? I mean, I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you're not always kind of evaluating, especially if the data points coming in on a recruitment are changing. You know what I mean? Like, I just, especially for somebody that's hypothetically that talented.
Bruntz, fast forward. We got a question this morning I thought was pretty interesting where, you know, it was basically implied that Coach Rule's probably been thinking about this. He's not kind of a knee-jerk guy. Had to put some plans in place to pull it off, but said, you know, he kind of looks at it as a release valve, a pressure release valve for some of the coaches currently on staff. Mitch Sherman floated a similar idea yesterday. We had a listener that wanted to get our thoughts on. It's just probably been either thought about, talked about, and he could look at it as a way of maybe lightening the load for those kind of being scrutinized. How did it land with you? Is that plausible?
I could see that. Yeah, I mean, I think it probably lowers the temperature a little bit in the discussion about things. You know, I also don't know that. I don't know right now if I would be feeling particularly comfortable over there at all.
If you're anyone,
yeah. I mean, and not just the play caller. I mean, I think that, you know, you're at the point now, and when your head coach says he's willing to do anything to get things over the top, I mean, I believe that. So yeah, I mean, I think you know the definitely the conversation has shifted somewhat this week with that stuff coming out. I think that's probably a good idea for growth and maybe kind of doing some different things. But I mean, I also wouldn't necessarily see that addition as like, you know, people are off the hook or, you know, things are, you know, I do think it's going to be a pretty fine-tooth comb type off season over there with how they're doing things and who's doing what. So yeah, I think in the immediate, it probably helps a little bit. But you know, I do think they're going to be pretty thorough over there and kind of looking at how things are going and why this November has felt, at least started out kind of feeling a little bit similar to last November too.
Bruntz, do you give any credence at all to it seems like, I don't know how large of a section of the fan base this is, but a section of the fan base that says, hey, bringing somebody in at this point and actually hiring them kind of feels desperate. Does that hold any weight for you?
No, not really. I don't think so. I mean, I think when things happen kind of affects that, but I don't know that now I would say that it feels that way. I mean, if you're bringing somebody in to truly just have another look at things, I think that's pretty smart. Get some more people in the room. I guess on the one hand, I don't say like, okay, well, you need to make a change. And then when you bring somebody in to kind of look at things a little bit differently and have maybe a voice in some things like that doesn't strike me as desperate. I mean, we'll see what happens, but I think you probably have the right as a coach to course correct a little bit if something doesn't seem to be working. So it doesn't hold much water with me. I don't think. I think it's smart to bring people in, and it was obviously somebody's opinion that he valued enough to bring him up to go to a wrestling match with him. So, it's not like this was a complete like out of left field type relationship or something that kind of popped up in the last 3 days after UCLA. Like it feels like there's enough discussion and back and forth there that it doesn't feel knee jerky to me.
So, Bruntz, when you're in its totality, do you think we're overthinking like the specifics, like, oh, who's going to call plays, or what kind of offense did Holgorsen run, or wow, what did Phil Snow mean? Like, what if it's just, I even have a good example of what if it's just, but sometimes it can just provide a level of comfort from a tutorial standpoint on a multitude of things. It could even be day to day. How patient will you allow, or do you think we need to be to see exactly kind of what it is that he wants from these individuals?
Well, I mean, I'd like to hear it from Matt Rule what he wants to. Like we don't. I don't know that. Like he has not said that publicly. Like what he wants this to be. Whether it's
knowing him, he probably hasn't said it privately either, except to the two guys that he has to come in.
So I mean, that's the thing. Like they were on campus on Monday. We heard from Rule on Monday. He didn't mention that. So I mean, I'll be very eager Monday to kind of see what this. The idea is here with this, but I don't know. I mean, it's a different. It's at least offensively, I feel like it's a little bit more of like, okay, here's some things that you might be able to tweak. Like I'm not expecting like wholesale offensive changes or anything like that going to USC. I mean, maybe you have a few wrinkles here or there. Maybe you teach perimeter blocking a little bit differently or something like that, because that's been, an area where Holgorsen's coached a lot in the past, coaching wide receivers and, stuff like that. Maybe an extra eye or two on, a player that maybe needs to be out there more, or somebody needs to be out there less. I mean, that's the value of, maybe somebody like Phil Snow that's been through it a lot and kind of knows, what a Matt Rule type player looks like. So that's what I'm thinking it's going to be. I mean, we'll see, at least in the immediate, we'll see what kind of the view is beyond that. But yeah, I mean, I'm eager to hear more from Matt Rule on it, because it's, certainly, I don't think it's, if it was just somebody that was, just a name, but I mean, these are two, Phil Snow is very large in the Matt Rule orbit. And certainly Dana Holgorsen's a name in himself.
Bruntz, are we underselling the fact that he's going to be gone for 2 to 3 days minimum, and we're going through kind of this changeover, or not changeover, but like advisory process, and my man is out here recruiting his brains out. Like everybody pretty much must have their directives, right?
I mean, you think Holgorsen?
How about he low-key dropped on Monday, hey, I trust my guys that are here. I'm going to be out recruiting Wednesday, Thursday. And we didn't even know what was coming.
You think you think Holgerson's kind of doing the Captain Phillips? Like, look at me, I'm the captain now.
No, I actually don't. But I mean, isn't that that's like, how's that land, MB?
No, it's funny. It's like I don't know. Like it's like as a parent when you got your two kids and you're like, okay, I'm gonna. Here you are. I got you set up here. I'm gonna go in the other room, and you guys just make this work. Like that's. I'm sure everybody has I'm sure that there's very clear directives about what people are doing and who's doing what. I have zero doubts in my mind about that.
Mommy and I are going out. Domino's is on the stove.
I'm gonna go in the other room. Don't pummel each other. And
the
no
duplex
TV.
blocks are out on the streets. Don't change the channel.
I don't have kids, but I feel like it's when I leave the dogs out, and I'm like, please don't poop on the floor while I'm gone.
Yeah. It's like, well, depending on the day, it's like, hey, I got to do 25 minutes of radio here. I need you two to not kill each other in the next. And then, like, inevitably, somebody else comes in the room and they've got to go to the bathroom, which has happened when I've been on the radio. But yeah, it's like that. Like you're just getting everything set up and hoping for the best.
I suppose you're right. I suppose with kids, you're hoping they don't poop on the floor either. So I guess it's the same thing.
Well, when you're on a show and the kid loudly announced, comes into the room and says, "I've got to poop," and
hey, it's better than the alternative that he didn't tell you, right?
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Hey, appreciate the heads up, champ.
Is this like a right now situation, or I got a couple minutes? No, now? Okay, cool.
Yeah. Big parent energy.
Always right now. Yeah, always right now.
Bruntz, we appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you later.
Yep, see you guys.
Thanks, Bruntz.
That's Michael Bruns, Husker 24/7 Dad of the Year.
Dudes are hilarious.
Big handshake energy. We'll be back with more Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. It's time for Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook, the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets, whether it's at the casino in Lincoln or in Omaha. Make sure you get over there. You can build the bets on your app, but they've got Sportsbook open up now. You can go watch the games, hang out there. You know, maybe go play some table games or slots
games
while you're waiting.
Table games.
You know, just play a little poker while you're waiting for your game to start.
They're a goofball.
Who, me?
Yes.
You like table games. You're a big poker guy.
Yeah, but I haven't wasted a cent of money.
That's we'll see what happens. You know, maybe we'll get you over there.
Maybe Christmas.
Maybe Christmas?
I hope to not be home. That'd be nice.
Well, I don't know when the bowl game is going to be, but if it's not in Nebraska, you can bet on that too at Warhorse Sportsbook. No bets, no glory.
I can't stand
And I'll bet you that you lose.
And I'll bet.
What?
What?
Those are guys over there.
This dude can't.
Well, I smell bet.
Knock it off.
We got an NFL game tonight.
I know. Are you happy?
I am excited.
Are you?
I'm excited.
You a big Prime guy?
I don't love the broadcast.
Why?
It's okay. It's fine. I'm not enamored with it. You know what I don't like?
That is definitely the response from a dude that is wearing a button-up quarter zip. I mean, that just fit the personality. So, I mean, it was fine. It's okay.
But the Lions will make up for it.
You know
zip it, Marty.
Why are what?
He's talking about the Lions.
The funny thing about
what?
Why I don't love the broadcast is the dumbest thing, and it actually has to do with what you just brought up. The Andrew Whitworth.
I love that look. The hoodie and the coat.
No, it's an okay look. I don't mind that. It's all he ever wears.
I love that look.
It's an okay look. But
I had a cream one on.
You
once.
gotta sprinkle it in, man.
Did I tell you what Numbnut said to me on Big Red Wrap Up a couple weeks ago? I had a cream one on, hood.
Apostrophe?
With a long black coat.
Yeah.
And right before he went to me, so he's introducing me, he goes, so the camera's not on yet.
Yeah.
And he goes, I love you, right? And I go, yeah, why?
He's about to say something bad.
And he waited till we went live to say it, and I had to eat it.
That's awesome.
He's like, we'd like to go over to Andrew Whitworth. I was like,
here's my problem.
I was like, oh man, this dude.
It's an okay look, and I've rocked it.
That's how the sausage is made when you're on TV and you want to snap, but you can't because
gotta eat.
People are watching.
That's like perfect.
That's a TV vet right there.
Oh,
he's been on TV a lot.
I love you, right? Yeah, why? What happened?
It's an okay look. You can sprinkle it in. It's all he ever
wears.
That's
fine. Aikman rocks it.
It's all he ever. No, Aikman rocks a suit though too. Like it's
no, he does. No. He's not. Aikman's not a suit guy.
He was.
He's gone blazer hoodie. He's gone overcoat hoodie. He's gone peacoat button up.
I'll do a peacoat. I'm just saying you got to mix it up a little bit.
By the way.
Thank you. I like yours too. You don't usually wear those.
I don't.
Are those new?
I have several Nikes that I don't wear anymore.
Yeah, those are nice. I was actually looking at those earlier because I didn't recognize them.
They're very well. I don't have anything Adidas on.
Let's say usually you're rocking your Adidas. Yeah.
Yeah. I let my buddy.
You like to match your shoes to your gear?
100%.
Yeah, I got you.
I let my buddy Degenerate Aaron, speaking of the Warhorse segment, he kind of low key, without telling me to, got me off of Nike.
Really?
Well, because he would just send like these pictures sometimes of his new gear.
Mm-hmm.
This has been going on for a handful of years.
Yeah.
And he, knew Adidas, and I'm slowly phasing out Nike.
Mm-hmm.
And so it worked in my subconscious, like, I suppose I probably should too. Because whenever I'm working, it's not like I'm going to wear different shoes.
Yeah. Well, because you've got, obviously, with the network in Nebraska, that's all Adidas stuff.
But I have a couple of great pairs of Nikes, and I only wear them selected. AC Adam like hooks me up like once or twice a year with some Nikes.
Yeah.
And those aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
I mean, they are.
Oh, I bet I've seen samples. They're nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah. So it's like
I have a pretty good idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. So it's like.
Yeah, well, and then Westside does mostly Adidas too, right?
We're all Adidas.
Yeah, so between the two places that you spend most of your time, like it's all Adidas stuff. So I get that.
Yeah.
I like Nike stuff.
I can't believe you don't like.
Although not as much as I used to.
How are you going to close shame the broadcast?
I'm not close shaming. I'm just saying, like, mix it up a little bit, bud. Just like show some variety.
So you can't get into the. They barely go to him.
I know, but it's the first thing I see when I turn it on. I'm just like, and honestly, last year I was like, oh man, he's embracing the look. That's cool. And then every time I saw him on a commercial and he was wearing the same thing.
He's a big guy. Maybe he's comfortable.
I'm a big guy too. I'm shorter, but like, I understand the struggle. I understand the struggle of the big man. I do.
I'm gonna choke you.
I'm just saying, it bothers me a little bit.
The line is extremely light tonight, by the way.
Well, we got -6 Ravens over Bengals.
How? Is this history? History?
Yeah, I don't know.
The Ravens are good. I just wish their defense was played as good as the players that they actually have on the roster. Do you think
anybody's got a little PTSD of that Browns game a couple weeks ago? You think that's sticking in their head a little bit?
Maybe. I mean, that defense is wildly inconsistent.
Yeah.
Because Lamar Jackson has to be the favorite for
They'll
MVP
They'll let you get into little shootouts with them.
Yeah.
And I mean, Joe Burrow's pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't feel good about that number.
6?
Yeah.
Oh, Ravi.
Where would you have it?
About 8.
Okay. So another couple.
Yeah. I don't know how that thing's going to stay under 53.
Yeah, I think I maybe stay away from the 6 and I take the over.
By the way, I didn't go back and see. What was the South Carolina score last week?
44-20 over A&M.
Did I tell you that 43 had to be a misprint?
Yeah.
I'm like,
because you thought it was like 57.
I'm like those teams are going to score.
You guessed
score a ton, and I go, what's the total in that?
You said like 57. I go, it's 43.5.
I thought it had to be. I swear that had to be a typo.
I'm pretty sure that was right.
And it was 44-20?
Yeah. They put up 64. So your 57.5 would have been in the neighborhood. At least close.
That's crazy. Is that me, Shane?
No, that was Doc Sadler.
No,
it might have been Coach Rule.
Oh, okay. Because Doc Sadler did some.
It's a great question.
Doc Sadler had some heavy breath clips too.
It's a great question.
That wasn't the great question that mine was a beautiful question.
Yeah, let's
beautiful
relax.
question.
Relax
people like to know when I've got beautiful questions. So you're taking Ravens -6. You like Ravens -6?
No, I wouldn't play it.
You just don't like the number?
I don't like the number.
I wouldn't play the number either. I would play the over. I'll take the over on that.
53?
52.5.
Because
I think you're right. I think it turns into a shootout, which is why I don't feel great about the number. Because in shootouts, like that can be real dicey on a one possession game.
I really like FAU tonight.
Ooh.
But are they playing for that guy?
I don't know. I don't have a good feel for that at all.
Maybe they actually like him as a coach.
That's always hard to tell because, like, if you put my feet to the fire,
yeah,
I would tell you that I think, maybe I'm wrong.
I think very deeply.
I think.
Are you a philosopher?
Definitely, maybe. We finally might know. I think the offensive players like Marcus Satterfield.
Yeah.
And I think they're trying to play hard for Marcus Satterfield. Has that made them play any better?
That's a good point.
So that's where I kind of get a little dicey there. And also, I mean, it's really hard to bet on a team when you're staring down like 2-6, winless in conference. I'm like, I don't know. I don't feel good about it.
Is there another? I should know. Is there another college game?
Yeah, App State, Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, the wheels have come off in Coastal. So,
yeah,
but it's not like App State's not balling either. I mean, it's
No.
a couple 500 teams.
Yeah, both 4-4, both with 3 losses in the Sun Belt. App is a 1-point road favorite.
Yeah, I like App State quite a bit there.
Can I take the over on that too? 62.5. That's a big number.
Jeez.
But I just want points. Give me all the points.
I'm mad. I completely forgot about my own advice last week on that total.
Yeah.
And somebody DM'd me too. Was it Husker X's? No. Somebody told me that they thought that total was wrong too, and it was right after the show.
Yeah,
and I never, because
I was going off of the same place I get all of them, and I'm usually right on no matter who we talk to. So if it was a misprint, then,
it wasn't. They don't do that.
Yeah, I was like,
I just was saying that is ridiculously low for that game.
I mean, it ended up missing by 3 touchdowns, and that wasn't even.
And you had one team lay an egg.
Yeah, Texas A&M didn't do anything.
Yeah, I'm back to not knowing who they are.
Who that is?
Not as bad as Arkansas though.
Who that is? I don't either. I have no idea. I think that's a lot of the SEC though, if we're being honest. I mean, do you have a real good feel on Bama?
No, but I do.
You have a real good feel on LSU?
So somebody's out after this week.
Yeah, there's a couple of them because you got Georgia isn't out yet, but you got Georgia, Ole Miss, and then you got Alabama, LSU. Alabama, LSU is an eliminator. That is an eliminator game for sure. That's Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook. We like overs this week. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We'll be back. More Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Wrapping up the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR, and Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. We are joined now by our guy, Jacob Padilla from Hurrdat Sports. What's up, JP?
Good morning, Ravi.
JP, how we doing, bud? We good?
Hey, DB. Yeah, I'm good.
You know, it's always hard when you come on not to make small talk, and I find myself doing it again because I enjoy talking to you. But we are going to really try to maximize your time. So I told Ravi to zip it. So I'm glad I just wasted this 30 seconds.
I didn't say anything. You're the one. You're the one chit chatting over there.
Yeah, you're wasting more now.
Oh,
it's all the jibber jabber.
Chit chatting and jibber jabber.
Who said jibber jabber yesterday?
I don't know. JP, so we spent the first 25 minutes talking about Creighton and the way that they want to play. How much should we have stopped talking knowing that Pop Isaacs didn't play?
Yeah, that changes a lot of things and makes it a little tough to take too many kind of conclusions away from this one in terms of what the rotation will look like and maybe what their weaknesses are to a certain extent. Because without him in there, you're asking guys to play out of position a little bit. You're asking guys to maybe play more minutes than that they're going to when the team's at full strength. Obviously, he's going to be a huge part of this. But when you got a 7'1" dude in the middle, you can kind of make up for missing a big chunk of your lineup for sure.
Jacob, when you're looking at less, I guess, about missing Pop versus not missing Pop, how often do you think teams will try and play Kalkbrenner straight up and just say, hey, he can get whatever he wants. We're not going to compromise the defense on the perimeter and let three-point shooting and guard play beat us?
Yeah, that'll be kind of the tug and pull all season for Creighton, I think. As they get into it and start playing against teams that have players taller than 6'7" out there, I think we'll see kind of different game plans for guarding Kalkbrenner, and that's kind of the thing. Like RGV, they didn't have anyone that had a prayer of guarding Kalkbrenner all night. They only ran a handful of doubles at them or at him anyway, and Creighton kind of made him pay for him for the most part. Got some good buckets out of those possessions. So they were kind of in a no-win situation last night, which is why they just started trying to rain threes on the other end to make up for it. But like that's going to be the key for Creighton this season, and kind of the idea behind him is, all right, we got the most efficient player in the country in the middle here. We're going to feed him and see what you do about it. And because we've got guys that can space the floor around him, and if you send doubles, if you tag too hard on the roll, then we're making that pass out to the shooters and hopefully knocking it down. So we'll see kind of how that plays out as the season goes on. We're going to see some players that I think the opposition will try to guard Kalkbrenner straight up, and we'll see kind of how much how much he has improved just in terms of his overall skill set and aggressiveness and making teams pay.
I'm kind of excited to see if Coach Mack just has an offensive mind. Let's say teams decide to stay attached to shooters, right? Because you hear that a ton. Hey, stay attached to shooters and let Kalk do his thing where you don't get caught up standing around watching where movement without the ball while you're allowing a guy to actually utilize post moves would be something entirely different than I'm used to seeing since Coach Mack has been here.
Yeah, and that's something in the past that I've complained a little bit about, just kind of their off-ball movement. Obviously, maintaining spacing is important for them, and something they've always tried to do, and that will be key for playing around Kalkbrenner in the post. But, yeah, I mean, Jemiah Neal got a bucket, flashing kind of to the middle of the floor off of a Kalkbrenner double team, gave it to him, and he was able to go one-on-one and get to the basket without any help for one of his buckets. So that's something that they're going to have to, again, this season's going to be kind of a feeling out process, and Creighton hopefully will have answers for how teams try to guard them because of the way the team's built.
JP, before we switch over and take advantage of your expertise in Nebraska volleyball, I do want to stay on Jemiah Neal for just a second because I know that you did a super deep dive on his tape
fantastic
into his time at Arizona State. That's a guy, I'll be honest, I looked at a little bit of that and I was not excited. But he looks like a different player.
Jacob, those breakdowns they're sensational.
They're
I was retweeting those bad boys as much as I could yesterday. I mean, those are incredible.
They're phenomenal. But what did you see from Jemiah Neal in your deep dive that has either did or didn't lead you to believe that kind of a progression of his skill set was possible?
Yeah, first off, that Arizona State offense was complete trash. So it's hard to put too much on him because like you see him run and pick and roll, and there's nowhere to go. So like the step back jumpers, like that's the only option here because there are two guys in his way if he's trying to put it on the deck and go somewhere. So it's hard to fault him too much for the shot selection that he developed playing in that system. And obviously that's going to be the complete opposite at Creighton. And that's, I think, what we're seeing so far is, from what I heard, he kind of played like the old Jemiah a little bit, was pretty shot happy in the Iowa State scrimmage. And I think they talked to him. And since then, it's kind of been too far in the other direction where you could see like him turning down shots last night that he probably could have gone up with to make extra passes, and the extra passes were to guys that weren't necessarily open. So he was kind of he's a little too passive, and it ended up being some turnovers at times. And but you also saw when he did get aggressive, he made some nice plays going to the basket, and that's what they're going to need from him. He is a guy that can go create on his own in ISO and ball screens. Can kind of get to a shot really good in transition. We saw nice that kind of the N1 bucket driving down the lane when I think his first bucket, really nice finish with the left hand like that. There's some like, yeah, the shot is up and down. I think there's probably some more potential with it than the percentage last year indicated because he took twice as many pull-up jumpers as he did catch and shoot ones last year. And shot a very poor percentage on them. So, like, if you can just focus, if he can focus on taking the right shots, I think that'll improve his efficiency. And right now, I think he's trying to figure out what those are and what this team needs of him. I think that'll settle in as the season goes on. Especially you get a Pop out there, and maybe he's kind of more in the role that they envision for him, and he had to do a little bit more ball handling. Probably primary playmaking than there are times where he was the lead playmaker out there just because they're missing their other main guy in that role. So he is one of the ones kind of playing a little bit out of position while he's still trying to adjust to things. But there's a skill set there, and like you can get, like you said, go look at the breakdown there. You can see clips of some of his best plays at Arizona State last year. There's a skill set there that can help this team if he can kind of settle into the role they need of him.
Jacob, I'm not a big peak too early guy, but between Coach Cook's confidence last week and listening to Jordan Larson before they left for Wisconsin, last week on the Husker Radio Network. This team feels pretty good. When's the last time you've seen a team like this hit on all cylinders like this, the way that Nebraska is right now?
Probably last year in the lead up to that Wisconsin match.
With the level of competition, though, Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that win against Wisconsin last year, that was a better Wisconsin team than is this year. Although the Badgers have had settled in leading up to this one, I think what was key is I don't know that they have totally clicked just yet. It's just they're able to elevate their game and do what they need to get a win in matches like this. That defense performance against Wisconsin was the best that we've seen from them all season. I think they haven't been quite as sharp defensively this season as maybe we've seen in the past, but they've been better offensively. And in that one, the defense totally carried them to the win. The serve or the passing, serving, and defense. And now we see they're back to top of the Big Ten in opponent hitting percentage and serve receive. So that's kind of what they need to be, and if they can marry that with the improved offense, then they're going to have a chance.
How portable do you think, or sustainable is it, the quality passing out of the back row?
Oh yeah, that's what they build on. That's what they focus on, and I think Chad Gordon, a great volleyball follow, just put out the list of the best passers in the country, and all three of their littles are on it. You got
that's crazy.
You got Olivia, I think, a third best, Lexi 10th, and then Laney's down there as well. I just retweeted that. So you've got great passers back there taking the majority of your passes, and then Harper Murray is a good passer for an outside hitter as well. So teams don't really have a good option back there most of the time when you're trying to serve against Nebraska, because chances are it's going to be a good pass coming out of it.
It won't be long before the country picks up on Choboy's style of digging, and how she gets vertical and she kind of thrusts herself forward to get underneath balls. It hurts me to watch, but I'm telling you, everybody's going to start doing that. You watch.
She's certainly one of a kind, and the players I think really feed off of her energy and the way she does things for sure.
That's our guy Jacob Padilla from Hurrdat Sports. Make sure you check out. I just retweeted his breakdown on Jemiah Neal. Give him a follow if you're not already, and make sure you check out that deep dive. It was great stuff. Jacob, we appreciate it as always.
See you later, young Jacob.
Bye, guys.
That's Hurrdat Sports Radio for Thursday. We'll wrap up the week tomorrow. I'll be here. DB will be here. Who knows what else is going to happen? We'll be back.
Don't tell him.
Hurrdat Sports Radio.